Chapter 2103, The First Corner of the Primordial Realm. Chapter 2103, The First Corner of the Primordial Realm. In the depths of the sky, a path actually appeared and extended down. It was a jaw-dropping sight. Where did this path come from, or rather, where did it lead to? Was the so-called opportunity related to this path? Everyone looked over carefully and found that this road had an end. At the end of the road there was a door of light. They didn't know where the door of light led to. Everyone, now, let me tell you what the opportunity is. At this moment, a white-haired elder stepped out of the sky. He was obviously a great emperor and a very powerful one at that. The end of this path leads to a corner of the world. Why is it called a corner of the world? That's because that corner of the world was separated from the primordial realm when it was first created. To this day, it still retains its original appearance. The nomological laws there are extremely clear and the connate origin energy is rich. Whether it's cultivating the nomological system or the primordial system, one's cultivation speed will be shockingly fast there. The white-haired emperor said. The scene was in an uproar. It was actually a corner of the primordial realm's world at the beginning of its creation, and it still retained the appearance of the primordial realm at the beginning of its creation. This was definitely an unimaginable opportunity for cultivation. This was a great opportunity. Countless people, including the martial sovereigns, were looking at him with burning eyes. When one cultivated to the martial emperor realm, one had to evolve a small world. Entering that corner of the primordial realm's newly formed world would definitely be a great improvement and advancement for developing a small world. No wonder it was said that those who entered had a high chance of breaking through to the martial emperor realm. This corner of the world was obtained by a powerful figure from the void. This time it will be used as a reward for the chosen who passed the selection. However, this corner of the world is not big after all. Moreover, it has been around for too long. For those below the martial supreme realm or low-level void supreme realm, it is very useful. If one's cultivation is higher, it will not be of much use. The white-haired elder's explanation made many martial emperor powerhouses sigh. Go on in. You only have 2 years in there. After 2 years, that Almighty will send you out. How much you can gain in there will depend on you. The Battle of the 10 Lands will only truly begin in 2 years. The white-haired emperor announced. 2 years. They had 2 years. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He must make good use of these 2 years. Now let's set off. Well, follow this ancient path and step on it. The white-haired emperor said. Bus. And NBSP whoosh. As soon as the white-haired emperor finished speaking, one figure after another stepped onto the ancient road and followed it up. Let's go too. Qiu Yu Lu Xiangxiang, and the others also stepped onto the ancient road. The Star River, Yuan Xian, Muyang, and the others all stepped on the ancient road one by one, heading into the depths of the sky. The person in front had already reached the end. He stepped into the light door and disappeared. Countless people were envious. Especially those young heaven's favorites, their eyes were burning with passion but also helpless. This was a great opportunity. They knew that this batch of 320 people would definitely be stronger in 2 years. The gap between them and these people would be further widened. The strong were always strong. However, no one dared to sneak in. There were so many great sovereigns here. If anyone thought they could sneak in, they would be dreaming. Lu Ming also stepped onto the ancient path and walked up step by step. Very soon, Lu Ming reached the end of the ancient path and arrived at the door of light. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming stepped in. Soon, all 320 heaven's favorites stepped into the light door and disappeared. At this moment, the ancient road began to withdraw into the light door. Then the light door disappeared from the sky. Senior, I wonder which major power acquired this corner of the world. Someone asked. Some of the cultivators from the major forces were thinking about how great the benefits would be if they could pay a visit to this powerful figure and let some of the younger generation of their forces cultivate there. From the heavenly realm. The white-haired emperor said. Everyone shut up. It was actually a mighty person from the heaven realm. At the same time, everyone was secretly shocked. Could it be that there was a powerful person from the heaven realm paying attention to this battle of the 10 lands? Everyone come back in 2 years. The white-haired emperor said. Then he took a step forward and left. 2 years later, who will be the master of the game? Someone whispered. They were filled with anticipation. Then everyone left, and the area around the Mountain of Destiny returned to its peaceful state. After Lu Ming stepped through the light door, the world spun. The next moment he found himself on a protruding rock. What a strong pressure. As soon as he appeared, Lu Ming felt an endless pressure coming from all directions. It was as if there were hundreds of mountains pressing down on him at all times. Bang. Lu Ming tried to take a step forward. The earth rumbled and Lu Ming's body felt as heavy as a mountain. Is this the first corner of the primordial realm? Lu Ming muttered and looked around. What came into view was a boundless rock. There were rocks and barren land everywhere. There was no vegetation or any living beings. A desolate and ancient aura came. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered that the Kane Qi of origin here was unimaginably dense. As he breathed in and out, a dense Kane Qi of origin turned into beams of light and rushed into his mouth. Also, Lu Ming felt that the laws here were extremely clear. When he released his spiritual consciousness, he felt as if his body was bathed in endless laws. Lu Ming circulated the holy power into his eyes and was shocked. At that moment, everything that appeared in front of Lu Ming changed. Between the sky and the earth, there were many tiny silk ribbons swimming, emitting various kinds of light. It was as if the world was made up of thousands of thin threads. These were all nomological threads that could only be formed when the nomological laws were extremely clear and dense. The world at the beginning of the world. This is the world at the beginning of the world. Lu Ming mumbled to himself, his eyes filled with surprise. Legend had it that when the heavens and earth first opened and everything evolved, the cultivation environment was the best. The laws were clear and the innate qi of origin was rich. Cultivation would be much faster then. The middle-aged emperor was right. This was an opportunity. If an emperor to be cultivated here, their chances of becoming an emperor would be greatly increased. However, the pressure from the world is too great. Lu Ming sighed. One could not fly here. Not to mention flying, even walking for a short distance would probably exhaust the same power in his body. The best way was to stay in place and cultivate quietly. In fact, almost everyone who came in was like this, sitting cross-legged on the ground and quietly cultivating. This was a rare opportunity. They only had 2 years, so they naturally had to cherish it. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged on the spot and extended his spiritual consciousness. He could clearly capture various laws in the world. Chapter 2104. Chapter 2104, Strength Surge. Chapter 2104. Chapter 2104 Strength Surge. Lu Ming emptied his mind and began to comprehend the laws of chaos. And NBSP he immediately sensed the incredibly clear laws of chaos between heaven and earth, many times clearer than the outside world. With a single thought, the law threads between heaven and earth flew toward Lu Ming and wrapped around him. From the outside, Lu Ming's body was covered in a layer of light. He looked holy and unparalleled. Lu Ming could feel that his understanding of the laws of chaos was deepening. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Boom. The aura on Lu Ming's body suddenly exploded and rose. The laws of chaos whistled and filled Lu Ming's body. With a single thought, the chaos laws between heaven and earth were easily controlled by Lu Ming, forming the shape of a large river that circled around him. River of Laws. The laws of chaos had finally broken through the shackles and reached the perfect stage, forming the shape of a river. Laws forming a river did not mean that laws would really become a river. They were laws at perfection. With a thought, they would condense together like a river. Then, the chaos laws continued to pour into Lu Ming's body, helping him to temper his body in saint energy. The previous time he had perfected the Array Dao laws. Lu Ming already had the experience and this time he was familiar with the process. 2 days later, Lu Ming's aura had completely stabilized. My strength and saint energy have both increased by a large amount. Lu Ming carefully sensed the changes in his body and revealed a look of joy. The strongest law formed a river. To become an emperor the tempering of the body and saint power was much stronger than the king path law. The last time he had a breakthrough in the Array Dao laws, his physical body and saint power had improved, but this time they had improved even more. The saint heart in his dantian was crystal clear and filled with endless saint power. As the saint heart rotated, endless saint power poured into his meridians like a river. There was a faint glow circulating in Lu Ming's body, which was filled with infinite power. Strong. He was too strong. Lu Ming felt that his combat strength had increased by a large margin. 111 Start comprehending the death and devour laws now. Lu Ming revealed a look of anticipation. If the law of death and the law of devouring were both perfected, how strong would his body and saint power be? Lu Ming was filled with anticipation and he began to comprehend. The comprehension of nomological laws in this world was indeed unique and much faster than outside. Not only that, but this piece of heaven and earth was a corner left behind when the primordial realm first opened. It was also very helpful in developing a small world. However, Lu Ming had yet to reach the stage of breaking through to the martial supreme realm. Cultivation knew no time. As Lu Ming focused on cultivation, time flew by. In the blink of an eye, another half a year had passed. In half a year's time, Lu Ming had successfully cultivated the Death Rule and the Devour Rule to 99%. This speed was already shockingly fast. In the outside world, it would definitely not be possible without 5 years. However, after it was raised to 99%, it would be difficult to cultivate it to perfection in one go. It would take time to accumulate. At this moment, Lu Ming began to think. He wanted to cultivate other laws. What laws should I cultivate? Lu Ming frowned and pondered carefully. After all, he could cultivate many types of nomological laws. The nomological laws could merge with each other and greatly increase his strength. Furthermore, comprehending nomological laws in this world was too fast. He did not want to miss it. He was studying other laws. Extreme limit law. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming decided to cultivate the ultimate law. The laws of extremity and extreme power allowed each of his attacks to contain terrifying power. Furthermore, Long Qin and Desolate Power both cultivated the laws of extremity. Lu Ming had sparred with Long Qin and Desolate Power many times, so he had a better understanding of the laws of extremity. It would be easier for him to comprehend them. Furthermore, as more of his laws reached perfection, Lu Ming's physical body and saint energy would become stronger. In addition, the laws of chaos would be as heavy as a mountain. His attacks would become more and more powerful. With the addition of the extreme rule, his attack would be even more terrifying. Lu Ming put his thoughts into action and began to seriously comprehend the ultimate law. This world was indeed different. In just a few days, Lu Ming had a feeling. He felt that he had touched the door and he was more serious in comprehending it. More than 10 days later, Lu Ming had really crossed the threshold. He had comprehended the law of extremity. When he threw a punch, it carried extreme power and was shockingly powerful. From then on, he began to comprehend the death law, the devour law, and the extremity law at the same time. He would take turns to comprehend each law for a few days. Another 3 months passed, and the law of devouring was finally perfected. The law turned into a river, and Lu Ming's physical body and holy power were greatly enhanced. 3 months after the breakthrough of the engulfing rule, Lu Ming had been here for more than a year. He had also made a breakthrough in the death rule. The rule formed a river and achieved perfection. His body and saint power were refined again. Now Lu Ming could feel his holy power surging and it was terrifyingly powerful. His body was filled with explosive power. He felt that he could blow up a 1-star martial emperor with his physical strength alone. This wasn't an illusion. He was really too strong. Lu Ming did not know how his combat strength was now. 4 types of laws had been perfected and formed a river. 2 types of supreme laws and 2 types of king path laws had tempered his body and saint power 4 times. The power of the fusion of 4 laws at perfection was absolutely terrifying. In addition, Lu Ming had also cultivated the extremity law to an extremely profound level. He was not far from forming a river of laws. When Lu Ming entered this place, he had achieved a breakthrough in his ultimate limit law in 1 year and 3 people. He had attained perfection and his combat strength had soared once again. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming cast the Chaos Divine Palm and maneuvered. The 5 types of nomological laws fused and the world rumbled and exploded like a big bell and drum. It was about to explode. Satisfying, satisfying. After a long while, Lu Ming stopped and heaved a long sigh. His eyes were shining. The pressure in this area was extremely huge, but Lu Ming's physical strength was too strong. He felt that he did not need saint energy. He could withstand it with his physical body and travel far. An ordinary person would definitely not be able to do this. Nomological laws at perfection don't seem to be truly at perfection. Then Lu Ming considered the problem of the law. He had comprehended 5 nomological laws in a row and had a deep feeling. He realized that the so-called perfection of his nomological laws was only the perfection of a certain stage. It was not the end. He could still continue to break through. In reality, he had heard Uncle Kong mention before that laws were the foundation of the world. They were extremely profound and far from simple. The so-called perfection of an emperor-to-be was only the perfection of the first stage. The comprehension of laws was divided into several stages. However, it was extremely difficult to break through. It was difficult for an ordinary void emperor to break through. However, Lu Ming only thought about it casually and did not give it much thought. He was still some distance away from breaking through to the martial supreme realm. I've been here for a year and 3 months. There's not much time left. I want to comprehend other laws for the time being. I'll just consolidate the 5 types of laws I have now and reach the stage where I can break through to the martial supreme realm as soon as possible. Lu Ming set the cultivation direction and continued to cultivate. Chapter 2105. The Mysterious Young Man. Chapter 2105. The mysterious young man Lu Ming immersed himself in cultivation. All the talents who entered this world had great gains. Boom. On a rock, a 2 or 3-year-old girl's aura rose dramatically, and her emperor's might spread out like the ocean. Not long after, a lightning tribulation descended from the sky, but this little girl easily overcame it. "I've finally broken through to the martial supreme realm," chirping. The little girl mumbled. This little girl was Bubbles. In another valley, the lightning tribulation was also rumbling. Not long after, the lightning tribulation disappeared and a young man's figure appeared. It was Muyang. At this moment, a powerful aura emanated from his body. It was the Emperor's might. He had also broken through and reached the martial emperor realm. Ha ha ha. I've finally broken through to the martial supreme realm. They'll definitely turn that brat Tianyun into ashes the next time one see him. Muyang laughed, full of confidence. He had broken through to the martial supreme realm and his abilities had increased tremendously. He was 100% confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Of course he did not know that Tianyun was Lu Ming. He only thought that it was Tianyun. Not only them but many others had also broken through. Royal River, Star River, Death Blade, and Ji Long. The sons of God were originally in the Emperor-to-be realm, but after accumulating in this world for so long, they broke the shackles and stepped into the martial emperor realm. Some of them even had a breakthrough in their king body and became martial sovereigns. It was extremely difficult to break through from the Emperor-to-be realm to the martial emperor realm. It would take a long time to accumulate energy. It would take a long time to break through if it was in the outside world. However, in this world, many people had broken through in just over a year. This was a great opportunity. Yuan Xian Wu Liang, who had already reached the martial emperor realm, had taken a step further and become even stronger. Everyone was improving and their strength had increased greatly. In the blink of an eye, it had been 1 year and 8 months since he had entered this world. At this moment, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. He felt that his cultivation had reached its limit. He planned to slow down for a while and then try to break through to the martial emperor realm. The energy in this world is extremely abundant. I don't know if there are any natural treasures here. Why don't I take a look? Lu Ming started to think. Other people could not travel far but he could because his physical strength was too strong. He wanted to walk around. In particular, he found that the place was not flat and had a slope. He was in the middle of the slope and wanted to follow the slope to the top to take a look. Lu Ming started to move. He followed the slope and went up. The slope was not very steep but it was indeed going upward. Lu Ming realized that the higher he went, the greater the pressure. Although the increase was not huge, it was indeed getting stronger slowly. However, Lu Ming's physical strength was still able to withstand it. Lu Ming walked along the slope for 3 days, but he did not discover anything. It was smooth everywhere and there were no living creatures. He did not see anyone coming in from the outside. Lu Ming guessed that the people who came in from outside might be at the bottom of the slope. Lu Ming walked for another day. He suddenly realized that the ground had become flat. He seemed to have reached the highest point. As far as the eye could see, there were many protruding rocks in front of them like small hills. Of course there were also some mountain peaks but there was no vegetation. And here, the chi of origin of heaven and earth seemed to be even denser. Lu Ming walked forward. He was still unwilling to give up and wanted to search. Soon he arrived at a valley. There's someone? When he entered the valley, Lu Ming was shocked because he saw 2 figures. 2 young men who looked to be in their 20s were sitting cross-legged there. Lu Ming had never seen these 2 people before. They were not any 2 of the 320 people who had entered. When they were waiting on the Destiny Mountain, the 320 people had sized each other up. With their memory, they could remember each other after seeing each other once. However, Lu Ming did not have any impression of these 2 young men. One of the 2 young men was wearing a black robe, had black hair, and a cold expression. The other young man had long purple hair and was extremely handsome. He had an indescribable temperament that people would not forget after one look. Who are they? Why are you here? Lu Ming was very puzzled. Other than the 320 of them, there were others who had entered? At the same time, the 2 young men also saw Lu Ming and looked at him in surprise. Who is he? I've never seen him before. The black-haired youth said, his voice cold and arrogant. The purple-haired young man's eyes suddenly lit up. Could it be a prodigy of the primordial realm? I've recently heard that there are some prodigies of the primordial realm that have entered this world to cultivate. Lu Ming was shocked to hear their conversation. What did that mean? The purple-haired young man said that he was a proud son of heaven of the primordial realm. Could it be that the purple-haired young man wasn't from the primordial realm? Could it be the heaven realm? Lu Ming suddenly thought of the heaven. But why would someone from the heaven realm appear here? Where are you from? Heaven realm? Or the primordial realm? The black-haired youth seemed to be interested. Primordial realm, may first ask who you are? Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, You're indeed from the primordial realm. One didn't expect someone from the primordial realm to be able to make it here. It looks like your cultivation isn't weak. I'm really curious. What's the cultivation of the primordial realm's prodigies? The one who spoke was still the black-haired youth. With that, the black-haired young man stood up, his eyes filled with fighting spirit as he walked toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. It seemed that these two people really came from the heaven realm. At the same time, Lu Ming was speechless. They had just met and this black-haired young man looked like he was about to fight. Boom. The black-haired young man stepped forward, and a powerful aura burst out of his body. It was emperor pressure. The black-haired young man was a martial emperor. Make your move, let me see your strength. The black-haired young man's footsteps became faster and faster. In the end, he turned into a black lightning bolt and rushed toward Lu Ming. At the same time, he struck out with his palm. The terrifying power of his palm was aimed at Lu Ming. The power of reincarnation, this is the Son of God. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This black-haired young man's palm contained the law of reincarnation. Boom. Lu Ming made his move as well. He also struck out with his palm. The two of them struck out with their palms, causing a loud boom that shook the entire valley. Not bad again. The black-haired young man continued to strike out with his palms. He struck out dozens of times in a row, and the power was extremely shocking. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws to fight against his opponent. After dozens of moves, it was difficult to determine the winner. You're just an emperor to be, but you're so powerful. Your body is so strong. That's impossible. Are you an immemorial body cultivator? No, how can an immemorial body cultivator cultivate laws? The black-robed youth continued to speak, his voice filled with surprise. Even the purple-haired young man looked at Lu Ming in surprise. This guy is so strong. Lu Ming was also rather shocked. With his current physical body and saint energy as well as his perfect chaos laws, his combat power was definitely terrifying. However, he could not do anything to this young man. Chapter 2106, Failed Breakthrough? Chapter 2106, Failed Breakthrough, You're not weak either, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming was only speaking the truth, but the black-haired young man was not happy. His cold and arrogant face darkened, thinking that Lu Ming had underestimated him. Kid, one didn't use my true strength just now. Do you think you can compete with me? 111 Use my full strength now and see how many moves you can block. The black-haired youth said coldly, his aura even more oppressive. At this moment, the purple-haired young man spoke. Junior brother, don't do anything. It's almost time. The black-haired young man's expression changed. He cast a cold glance at Lu Ming and said, He'll let you go this time. Then he turned around and walked into a cave with the purple-haired young man. There was a cave in the depths of the valley. It seemed that the two young men had been waiting outside the cave for something. It seems like there's some kind of treasure in this cave. Lu Ming pondered and considered for a moment. In the end, he did not enter. The two young men were obviously peerless talents in the heaven realm. Lu Ming did not want to offend them for no reason. Let's leave first and look elsewhere. Lu Ming thought to himself and then turned to leave the valley. At this moment he found it hard to calm down. It seemed that this place was not simple. There were actually heaven realm geniuses here. Could it be that this corner of the world wasn't taken out by a primordial realm expert, but by a heaven realm expert? Lu Ming's mind was full of thoughts. After that, Lu Ming walked for another 2 days before he finally discovered a strange land in a mountain valley. Here there was a spring that looked like a demonic pool or a spiritual pool. Inside it, innate chi of origin was constantly emitted, and the energy was shockingly high. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He planned to let the celestial thearch's body absorb the energy here. As long as the energy in the celestial thearch's body reached a certain level, he would be able to control it. He would not have so many scruples when he did things. Lu Ming immediately took out the celestial thearch's physical body and began to absorb the energy here by using the technique to control the physical body of heaven and earth. This was the connate chi of origin, and the energy here was frighteningly abundant. As soon as Lu Ming circulated the technique to control the celestial thearch's body, rich energy from all directions gathered toward the celestial thearch's body. Moreover, the quality of the energy here was also very high. The energy storage of the celestial thearch's corporeal body was rapidly increasing. He could feel the energy in the celestial thearch's corporeal body increasing and strengthening at all times. In just a few days, the celestial emperor's corporeal Buddhist energy had reached 10%. Lu Ming could control it when it reached 10%. Lu Ming was overjoyed. However, he did not stop. He continued to control the celestial thearch's physical body and absorbed the energy frantically. Since the energy here was so dense, he should absorb more. The more energy it stored, the more powerful the celestial emperor's corporeal body would be. A month later, the energy here had almost dried up. It had been completely absorbed, and the energy in the celestial thearch's body had reached a shocking 36%. One had to know that the celestial thearch's corporeal body had only stored 16% of its energy previously. 36%, the power was absolutely terrifying. It would be great if one could completely replenish the energy of the heaven and earth in my body. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was tempted. If the energy in the celestial emperor's body could reach 100%, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in this era where there were no celestial emperors. At the thought of this, Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. He set off immediately to look for other similar spring sources. Unfortunately, this kind of spring was extremely rare. Lu Ming searched for a few days in a row but could not find it. Lu Ming did not give up. He searched for a few more days, more than 10 days in a row, but to no avail. Lu Ming finally gave up. Time was precious here and he could not afford to waste it. Lu Ming began to prepare to break through to the martial emperor realm. He found a hidden place and sat down cross-legged to adjust his state. A few days later he was at his peak. His essence, energy and spirit were in one. Lu Ming began to break through to the martial emperor realm. To break through to the martial sovereign realm, one had to use the saint heart as the core and the laws as the heart to develop a small world. The laws of a world were the foundation. With the laws, this world could be continuously perfected. Therefore, the first step was to use the laws to form the world core in the saint heart. Then he would combine the world core and the saint heart to evolve the world. It was like the creation of the world. An ordinary person's breakthrough would use a type of nomoyogical law as the core to evolve the world core. After breaking through to the martial supreme realm, one would comprehend other nomoyogical laws and add them into a small world. The more nomoyogical laws one added, the more perfect the small world would be. However, since Lu Ming controlled 5 types of laws, he would have to combine the 5 types of laws to evolve the world core. Otherwise, he would not have been able to succeed if he were to evolve one type of law. Begin. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He controlled the 5 types of laws and infused them into his saint heart. He began to evolve the world core. However, at this moment, his body trembled violently. He felt as if his saint heart was about to explode. Even his body was about to be torn apart by a wave of energy. He quickly stopped and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. How did this happen? Lu Ming's expression was ugly. When he broke through just now, the 5 laws entered his saint heart and collided with each other, producing a terrifying force that almost burst his saint heart and tore his body apart. Could it be that those below the martial supreme realm have cultivated many laws and can't break through to the divine realm? No, I don't believe it. Lu Ming began to regulate his breathing and heal his injured body. After a few days, his injuries had recovered and he tried to break through to the martial emperor realm again. However, he still failed. Impossible. He'll try to evolve the world core with a type of nomoyogical law. Lu Ming was indignant and decided to change his strategy. But he still failed. This was because the 5 types of laws would affect everything. When he controlled one type of law to evolve in the saint heart, 4 of the laws actually entered automatically. He could not control it even if he wanted to and injured Lu Ming again. How did this happen? Lu Ming mumbled in a low voice. He was extremely unwilling to accept this. If he could not break through to the divine emperor realm, it would be a huge blow to him. Maybe my cultivation level isn't high enough and I need to settle down. There might be other ways. One can definitely vindicate my Tao and become an emperor. Lu Ming clenched his fists and took a deep breath to calm himself down. Perhaps it was not the time to break through to the emperor realm yet. He would have to wait for a while. However, Lu Ming naturally did not dare to comprehend new laws now. The more laws there were, the more difficult it would be to break through to the martial emperor realm. There's still some time left. Why don't I comprehend the use of nomoyogical laws? I control 5 types of nomoyogical laws. If I can create a corresponding magical power technique, its power will definitely soar. Lu Ming put aside the matter of breaking the monarch and began to consider the problem of his own combat strength. Now, his divine power techniques were all divine power techniques with a single law, such as the chaos divine palm, the Chaos Tribulation Finger, the Eye of Death, and the 3 scrolls of the Array Tao. Furthermore, the so-called law fusion was merely a crude fusion of the laws to increase their power. This was the crudest way of using the laws. Chapter 2107. The Real Battle Begins. Chapter 2107. The real battle begins. To put it bluntly, Lu Ming's usage of the law was like using brute force. He did not unleash the marvelousness of the law at all. He had heard from Uncle Kong that one could comprehend many laws after reaching the martial emperor realm. Different people would naturally have different insights into the laws. The fusion of different laws would also produce different sacred art techniques. Those sacred art techniques contained several different laws, and their power was astonishing. It was not something a sacred art technique with a single law could compare to. A single law sacred art could only be considered a low-grade sacred art. Some laws contained many sacred arts, and their power was simply earth-shattering. There were some ancient sutras above the rank of a martial sovereign that had corresponding records. However, those ancient sutras were all shockingly valuable. There's only a single law divine power art in the Chaos Scripture. This isn't right. Lu Ming was reminded of the Chaos Scripture. He guessed that the Chaos Scripture he had was incomplete. Logically speaking, the Chaos Scripture was the inheritance left behind by the Chaos the Arch. It should not only contain low-grade superpowers but also different laws and superpowers that were fused with the Chaos laws. Perhaps the Chaos Scripture one have is really incomplete. Lu Ming pondered. He didn't have the corresponding sacred art on hand, so he could only rely on himself to explore. He spent the rest of his time trying to figure out how to use the different laws. Time passed quickly. 2 years were almost up. After several months of exploration, Lu Ming finally had some gains. He realized that it was too difficult to comprehend any supernormal ability from the laws of chaos and the laws of death. It wasn't just empty talk that the strongest laws were incompatible. However, Lu Ming still managed to create 2 different divine ability techniques that were shockingly powerful. It was a combination of the chaos laws, the Array Tao laws, the engulfing laws, and the extremity laws to create a magical power technique. Lu Ming named it the Chaos Hammer. When he used this move, he could form a giant hammer with shocking power. In addition, he had fused the Death Law, the Devouring Law, the Array Tao Law, and the Extremity Law to create a child prodigy technique. Lu Ming named it the Death Sword. When it was used, it would form a combat sword that could cut through everything. Of course, this was only the initial comprehension. The power of the various laws had not been fully displayed. To be able to reach this stage in such a short period of time, Lu Ming's comprehension ability was already extremely terrifying. As he slowly cultivated and comprehended them, they would become more and more perfect. The mysteries of various nomological laws would burst out, and the power of these 2 moves would become stronger and stronger. However, even though it was only an initial comprehension, it was still much stronger than simply relying on the fusion of laws. This had greatly increased his combat strength. In the 2 years since he entered this world, Lu Ming's combat strength had improved tremendously. It's almost time. Lu Ming looked up at the sky. Buzz. Suddenly, a powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. With his current strength, he was unable to resist this force at all. His body disappeared from where he was standing. The next moment, he found himself in a void. There was a huge door of light in front of him. Beside him, figures kept flashing and appeared one after another. He saw Qiuyu, Bubbles, and Feng Ling. He also saw Yuan Xin, Muyang, and the others. Muyang's eyes were filled with cold, killing intent when he saw Lu Ming. This time he was full of confidence. He had become a martial emperor and his strength had increased tremendously. He was 100% confident that he could kill Lu Ming. Many people's eyes were filled with confidence. Everyone had improved greatly. Get out! A voice suddenly came from the sky. It sounded very old. Everyone's heart trembled. They knew that the master of this world had spoken. He was definitely a terrifying expert. Lu Ming thought of more things. He had seen 2 heaven's favorites from the heaven realm, so the master of this world must be from the heaven realm. Everyone stepped into the light door and disappeared. During this period, countless people had gathered on Destiny Mountain. There were even more people than 2 years ago. That was because the 2 years were up and the Battle of the 10 Lands was about to begin. Also, how much good fortune did the 320 prodigies obtain after entering the world left behind by the primordial realm? How much did their strength increase? Were there really many people who had already entered the martial emperor realm? Everyone was very curious. In the sky above the mountain peak, figures shrouded in divine light stood there like gods. They were all great emperor realm experts from all over the world. At Mount Yuan, Uncle Kong had arrived and was standing with Emperor Formless. In addition, the great emperors from the Hung family, the He family, and the Tianluo family had all arrived. Not only that, the powerful forces of the various Holy Lands had also sent many experts. For example, the various powerful forces of the ancient Moon Holy Land had sent people to participate in the first battle of the 10 lands in history. Everyone was waiting quietly. Suddenly, a door of light appeared from the depths. It's coming out. Everyone looked at the door of light with anticipation. Not long after, one figure after another walked out of the light door and stood in the void. 320 people, not one more, not one less. There's indeed great progress. Many of them have entered the martial emperor realm. The great emperors and true emperors were all shocked. With the cultivation bases of great emperors and true emperors, it was not difficult for them to see through the cultivation bases of Lu Ming and the rest. They could see through it with one glance. Alright, the 2 years are up. The 10 lands battle is about to begin. Everyone back off. A white-haired old man stepped out and his voice spread in all directions. He was the host of this event, an old monster from the City of Destiny. Everyone stepped back, including the great sovereigns, leaving the Destiny Mountain empty. Then, the white-haired old man waved his hand, and light spread over the Destiny Mountain. Stone platforms emerged out of thin air. Each stone platform was huge like a battle platform. It was a total of 320 yuan. The next competition is very simple. Each of you can choose a stone platform and step on it. A formation has been set up on these stone platforms, and they naturally have their own rules of operation. After you step on them, the stone platforms will rotate and move. Whichever 2 stone platforms collide with each other will be the 2 people who will fight until the top 10 are decided. The white-haired elder announced. Everyone's eyes moved. So this was the rule. However, didn't such a rule have a large part in luck? However, many of them had confidence in their eyes. They had enough confidence in their own strength and believed that no matter what kind of opponent they met, they would be able to defeat it. This time, everyone had a great harvest. They were already eager to try and show off their strength in front of countless people. He'll go first. Someone moved. A burly figure rushed onto a stone platform. Bus, bus, bus. Next, everyone moved, each jumping onto a stone platform. Chapter 2108, Chapter 2107, Dazzling Collision. Chapter 2108, Chapter 2107 Dazzling Collision. Lu Ming also randomly chose a stone platform and stepped on it. When Lu Ming stepped onto the stone platform, he realized that there was a force from the stone platform that enveloped his entire body. In the blink of an eye, a person stood on each of the 320 stone platforms. After that, all the stone platforms began to move slowly, as if following some sort of pattern. Soon, 2 of the stone platforms flew toward the center and collided. On the 2 stone platforms, the 2 young men's eyes met, and they were both filled with a strong desire to fight. Boom, boom. A powerful aura burst out from the 2 of them, and a long river surrounded them. Emperor-to-be, both of them were in the Emperor-to-be realm. It's one of the King Path laws, the law of destruction. The 2 of them are the same. Someone shouted, recognizing the laws of the 2. The 2 young men actually controlled the same laws. You're also in control of the laws of destruction, but you're not my match. One of them said confidently. You're the one who's defeated. The other person was also very confident. Boom. The 2 of them were engaged in a fierce battle. The 2 king physiques had both reached the Emperor-to-be realm, and their battle strength was very shocking. Furthermore, they had grasped the same type of nomological law, and their cultivation levels were similar. Their combat strength was also not much different. The battle between the 2 was extremely intense, and it was only after more than 200 rounds of fighting that the victor was decided. In the end, one of them won by a slight margin and defeated his opponent, sending him flying off the stone platform. After his victory, his stone platform flew back to the others, while the stone platform of the defeated person turned into dust and dissipated. The defeated person was extremely unwilling. He had become the first person to be eliminated in the Battle of the 10 Lands. There was a simple rule for this competition. That was, they could admit defeat before the competition. If he didn't admit defeat, he would be responsible for his own life and death once the battle started. Of course, they could also rush down the stone platform and admit defeat. After the first round of the competition ended, the stone platforms began to spin again. Soon, 2 more stone platforms flew towards the center and collided with each other. Boom. The 2 young men on the stone platform immediately started fighting. Without a doubt, these were also 2 king physiques. In fact, those who could enter the top 80 in each battle zone all had king physiques, and their cultivation wasn't weak. He cultivated in that corner of the world for another 2 years. Even the worst of them had entered the emperor-to-be realm. Surprisingly, the two king physiques controlled the same laws. Could it be because of the stone platform? Lu Ming was reminded of the stone platform. Previously, when he stepped onto the stone platform, there was a wave of energy that enveloped him. Could that energy sense the laws? Or perhaps it had other uses. Not only Lu Ming but the others also had the same thought. As expected, most of the people who were going to fight next had the same nomological laws. This was to determine the winner between two people with the same laws. So strong. They are all emperor-to-be. And it's at the stage where it's about to evolve into a small world, and it's about to verify its Tao and become an emperor. Many people sighed. Indeed, in the past 2 years, everyone had made great progress. Many of them had not become saint emperors, but they were close to it. Some of the young men were especially envious. There were some people whose cultivation levels were similar to theirs before, but now there was a huge gap. Some of them were still stuck in the perfected absolute saint realm. Even though a small number of them had broken through to the emperor-to-be realm in the past 2 years, they were still far from being able to evolve a small world. The battle was extremely intense. Each battle had a similar cultivation level and the laws were the same. It would take at least 100 moves to determine the winner. Half a day later, only 10 pairs of people had started to fight. In the 11th match, Lu Ming saw a familiar face. Longchen. Moreover, Longchen had already broken through to the martial emperor realm. Years ago, he had already reached the emperor-to-be realm. It was normal for him to take this opportunity to break through. His opponent was also at the martial emperor realm. He was also a person who had mastered the supreme force law. The two of them began to collide with each other. However, in the end, Longchen had cultivated the Archean dragonesque elephant body, which made him more powerful. He defeated his opponent in a violent manner. This was the first time that a battle of the same law and level had such a huge difference in strength. The bloodline of the top 10 battle beasts is indeed extraordinary, indeed. It's said that the further you advance, the more extraordinary you will be. After you reach the rank of a martial supreme, you'll be even stronger. Some of the older generation were discussing. The battle continued. After that, Lu Ming saw Desolate Power, Luoxiang, Qiuyu, and the rest all enter the arena. Huang Li, Luoxiang, Qiuyu, and the others had all broken through their shackles and reached the martial emperor realm. They were now one-star void emperors. They had also defeated their opponents. However, everyone could see that most of the duels were about the same nomological law, but it was not absolute. There were also duels between different nomological laws. It was very exciting. Lu Ming's eyes were dazzled because he saw all kinds of king path laws. Today was indeed a great era. In the past there were very few king path laws, but now they had all appeared. The battles continued for several days, and people were eliminated one after another. There were no rules for duels. It wasn't like you could wait for the others to finish their duels before it was your turn. Some people had just finished 10% of the battles, and after a few rounds, it was his turn again. It was completely determined by the stone platform's autonomous movement. Some people were unlucky and met a terrifying heaven's favorite right from the start. For example, some people were defeated by Yuan Xian, Wu Liang, and Ancient Devil in one move. Lu Ming also saw Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Mal making a move. After all, the two of them had only cultivated for a short period of time and were considered to be rising stars. They had not broken through to the martial supreme realm, but they had already reached the stage of evolving a small world. They were only one step away from the martial supreme realm. They would be able to break through after consolidating their strength for a while. They had also easily defeated their opponents. As the stone platform moved, Lu Ming drifted forward and collided with another stone platform. Finally, it was Lu Ming's turn. Lu Ming's first opponent was a king physique that was only at the emperor-to-be realm. Do you want to admit defeat? Lu Ming asked seriously. Lu Ming did not have much interest in a king body at the emperor-to-be realm. The difference was too great. If you want me to admit defeat, we'll have to see if you have the ability. The other party sneered. He was a young man wrapped in a black robe. His face was pale and he took out a staff. Curse weaken. Curse poison. Curse corrosion. The young man took action immediately. He waved his staff and streams of energy suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's body, enveloping him. This is the law of curses. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. The law of curses was an extremely rare king path law. It was very strange and powerful. With the power of curses, It could kill people without them noticing. There were waves of strange energy on his body, desperately drilling into Lu Ming's body. An ordinary king's body would not be able to withstand it. However, to Lu Ming this was nothing. Chapter 2109, Defeating the King Physique Martial Emperor. Chapter 2109, Defeating the King Physique Martial Emperor. Lu Ming's current physical body was too strong. His essence qi was surging and his blood qi was like a furnace. Every muscle was filled with explosive power. Lu Ming's body moved and a dragon's roar came from his body. Blood qi gushed out from every pore of his body like flames. The strange energy that covered his body turned into clouds and smoke in an instant. Why would I? The young man who mastered the law of curses had a drastic change of expression. He was about to cast another curse technique to deal with Lu Ming. Go down, Lu Ming said and threw a punch. This punch was a punch of pure physical strength. This punch was like a meteorite that rushed into the sea. The space exploded like the sea water, forming circles of ripples that crushed towards the opponent. With a muffled groan, his body was sent flying out of the fighting ring, coughing up blood. Lu Ming had held back. Otherwise he would have killed the other party. Lu Ming won easily. However, even though he had instantly killed his opponent, he did not attract too much attention. Although the law of curses was strange and profound, the young man was only an emperor-to-be. Anyone who had reached the martial emperor realm could kill him in one move. Humph, you only defeated an emperor-to-be. I really hope you can meet me. Muyang sneered, his eyes even colder. He really hoped that he could meet Lu Ming and then kill him to wash away the shame. Lu Ming initially thought that his stone platform would retreat. He did not expect that his stone platform did not retreat. Instead, it moved and met another stone platform. He continued to fight. Many people were stunned for a moment, and their expressions turned grave. This was the first time someone had fought in succession, and they couldn't help but be wary. The stone platform's operation seemed to indicate that anything was possible. They had to conserve their energy for the upcoming matches. Otherwise, it would be disadvantageous for them if they were to be continuously challenged. This time, Lu Ming's opponent was a short-haired teenager. His eyes were sharp and he was very valiant. Boom. Without any unnecessary words, the other party immediately exploded with a terrifying aura. The aura brought about a strong wind that pressed toward Lu Ming. A martial supreme. His opponent was a martial emperor with a king body that had stepped into the martial emperor realm. Muyang's eyes lit up. A martial emperor with a king physique would most likely be able to test Lu Ming's strength. Not only Muyang but some of the people from the southern war zone were also shocked. 2 years ago, Lu Ming was so powerful that he could defeat Muyang. He was known as a seated elite. Many people wanted to know what realm he had reached 2 years later. Burial earth, bury me. The other party made his move. His body moved sideways and in the process of moving, his body seemed to have turned into a stone tablet, pressing down on Lu Ming. This stone tablet was extremely similar to a gravestone. Thump. Lu Ming clenched his fist and punched the tombstone. The tombstone shook and flew out, turning into a human figure. Kill? The short-haired teenager roared and attacked again. This time, his body glowed with a layer of black light. With a wave of his hand, tombstones appeared one after another and pressed down on Lu Ming. The law of burial earth. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly. Today he had seen some wonderful laws. The law of burial earth could bury everything and kill them. Its power was extremely shocking. The short-haired teenager used the law of burial ground to turn it into a tombstone, intending to bury Lu Ming. The short-haired youth had reached the great emperor realm and was much stronger than the prodigies who had mastered the laws of curses. Lu Ming clenched his fists and punched continuously, shattering the tombstones in the air. In the end, the short-haired teenager's attack reached its peak. A huge tomb appeared in the sky, trying to bury Lu Ming. The power was extremely terrifying. If someone of the same rank was buried in the tomb, it would be very difficult to come out. Boom. Lu Ming's body erupted with an even more shocking aura, and the death law spread out. This caused the other heaven's favorites to be stunned. The children of heaven were all extraordinary and worthy of attention. They were their opponents to enter the top 10. The death qi on Lu Ming's body became thicker and thicker. In the end, it turned into a long river that surrounded his body. Laws form a river. He hasn't become an emperor yet. He's only a quasi-emperor. Many people heaved a sigh of relief. An emperor-to-be was nothing to be afraid of. He was destined to be a foil. I've been in that small world for 2 years, but am still an emperor-to-be. It seems that my talent is really not good enough. Muyang was overjoyed and couldn't help but sneer. Even if his cultivation is low, he will still abuse you. Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago? Lu Xiangxiang was indignant and taunted him. Although she did not recognize Lu Ming had helped them 2 years ago. She had a good impression of Lu Ming. When she saw Muyang mocking Lu Ming, she also ridiculed him. Muyang's face turned ugly at the mention of being abused. That was then and this is now. He does have some strength, but if he meets me now, only death awaits him. 111 Make him die a terrible death. One step ahead, one step ahead. I've already become an emperor while he's still an emperor to be. He'll never be my opponent. Muyang sneered, full of confidence. Lu Xiangxiang snorted coldly and did not say anything. At this moment, Lu Ming and the short-haired teenager were fighting again. Lu Ming cast the death rule and his combat strength increased greatly. He used Death's Eye, and it was as if combat weapons were flying out of his eyes, destroying the enemy's tomb. Bang! In the end, Lu Ming charged forward like a wild dragon, piercing through his opponent's defense and sending the short-haired young man flying out of the fighting ring. Lu Ming had won this round. Did you see that? Even if he's not an emperor yet, he can still defeat a martial emperor. Seeing that Lu Ming had won, Lu Xiangxiang was overjoyed and looked at Muyang with ridicule. It's just defeating a king body. It's nothing. Muyang smiled faintly. Even though he said that, he felt a little heavy in his heart. Lu Ming's ability to defeat a martial emperor with a king body was enough to prove how terrifying he was. However, he was still confident that he could beat Lu Ming. There was still a huge difference between the king physique and the son of God. After the battle, Lu Ming's stone platform retreated. The competition continued. In the blink of an eye, another day passed. Now there were only half of the original 320 stone platforms left. Half of the people had been eliminated. At this moment, Luo Xiang met a terrifying opponent. Although Luo Xiang had already become a martial supreme, his opponent had also become a martial supreme this time. Moreover, he was a son of God. There was no suspense in this battle. Although Luo Xiang had used all his strength and displayed the law of speed to the extreme, it was useless. The other party had directly broken his law of speed with terrifying strength and defeated Luo Xiang in a crushing manner. However, the other party had no enmity with Luo Xiang, so he only injured him, not killed him. The competition after that was getting more and more brutal. This was because almost all of the Emperor-to-be realm experts had been eliminated. Only a few of them remained. Those who remained had almost all entered the martial emperor realm. Chapter 2110. Chapter 2110, Clash Between the Strong. Chapter 2110. Chapter 2110 Clash Between the Strong. About half of the 320 people were at the martial emperor realm. This was extremely shocking. 2 years ago, there were only a few people who had become martial supremes. However, half of them had become martial sovereigns now. One could only imagine how much progress they had made in that world. Therefore, everyone could not help but wonder how powerful those people who had become martial supremes 2 years ago were. Everyone's gaze turned to the destined child, Yuan Xian, Wu Liang, and the others. These people were all martial emperors 2 years ago, and now they were even more unfathomable. They stood calmly on the stone platform. Previously they had also made a move, but their opponents were too weak and they were easily killed in seconds. Many people began to re-evaluate the seated warriors in their hearts. They began to speculate which 10 people would be able to enter the top 10. Naturally, Lu Ming was excluded. In the eyes of others, Lu Ming had not become a martial supreme and had already withdrawn from the competition. The battle was getting more and more intense. They were all battles between martial emperors. Moreover, the opponents were all at least king physiques. Although many of them were one-star void emperors, their king physiques and the battle prowess of the Son of Heaven far exceeded that of ordinary one-star void emperors. There were people being eliminated continuously. Long Qin, Huang Li, Qiuyu, Luo Tianyi, and the others were eliminated one after another. They had all encountered terrifying opponents, the children of God. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were also eliminated. Their cultivation was still a little weak. They had not become martial sovereigns, so it was difficult for them to compete with the sons of God who had become martial sovereigns. Fortunately, they were all fine. At most, they were injured. Lu Ming was relieved. Boom. Muyang had stepped out. He was indeed powerful. A martial emperor with a king physique was almost blown up by him. Half of the body was turned into nothingness. The king physique struggled to get out of the stone platform and escape death. After Muyang's victory, he threw Lu Ming a provocative look. Tianyun, you better pray that you don't meet me. Otherwise, you're dead meat. Muyang sent a message to Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not even look at Muyang. He ignored him. After that, Lu Ming did not know if he was lucky or unlucky. For the next few days he only went out to battle once and defeated a martial emperor with a king physique. On the 10th day of the battle there were only 50 people left. The reason why it was so slow was mainly because many people with similar cultivation levels were fighting extremely fiercely. It was not easy to determine the winner. Some people even fought for a long time before the winner was decided. It was very tragic. At this point, the remaining 50 people were all extremely terrifying heaven's favorites. The remaining people didn't have many king physiques and most of them were the sons of God. In the 10 lands, other than the Forsaken Land, the other 9 lands had a few children of God in each of them. There were even more children of God in divine lands. In total, there were more than 50 sons of God. More than 50 sons of God had gathered in an era. This was something that had never happened in the primordial realm. Legend had it that such a grand occasion had only appeared in the heaven realm in the distant past. Of the remaining 50 people, Lu Ming was the only one at the emperor-to-be realm. That emperor-to-be is called Tianyun? That's right, his name is Tianyun. His luck is pretty good, and he hasn't encountered anyone too strong. Well, his luck has come to an end. There are almost no weaklings next. His combat strength is amazing among those of the same level, but his cultivation is too weak. He has not broken through to the emperor realm and will be eliminated in the end. In the surroundings, some people were discussing and expressing their opinions. At this moment, 2 more stone platforms collided. Many people were shocked. Even Lu Ming had a look of anticipation. One of them was an ancient devil. Lu Ming knew very well that the ancient devil cultivated the primordial diabolism and its combat strength was extremely powerful. After 4 to 5 years, the ancient devil must have become even more amazing and its combat strength must be unfathomable. The other person was definitely not weak either. He was also a son of God. Just like Lu Xiangxiang, he had also mastered the laws of life and had also broken through to the emperor realm. This would be a battle between the strong. The 2 of them didn't waste any words and directly attacked. The Son of God controlled the laws of life. With a wave of his hand, vines as thick as arms filled the sky. Each vine was incomparably tough, like a divine sword, and their killing power was astonishing. But ancient devil was stronger. His body was covered in a layer of demonic light. The demonic light formed a saber in his hand. He killed his way through the sky of vines. As the saber fell, the vines were broken. Some of the vines that wrapped around his body were directly shattered by the demonic light on his body. Strong, he was too strong. The ancient devil had the absolute advantage as soon as he attacked. He broke through all the obstacles and attacked his opponent. The other party had used all his strength, but he was also at a disadvantage and was difficult to match. This made many people stunned and in disbelief. What's going on with him? Why can't I sense any nomological laws fluctuations from him? Some of the young men who had never heard of the ancient cultivation system cried out in surprise. This should be the immemorial cultivation system, the immemorial demonic Tao. An elder spoke up and explained, causing many people to be shocked and somewhat dejected. Was the ancient cultivation system so powerful that it actually suppressed the Son of Heaven to the point where he couldn't even raise his head? Don't be discouraged. The current nomological system is flourishing, so it naturally has its advantages. The primordial cultivation system isn't that easy to cultivate. That's right. The ancient cultivation system has extremely harsh conditions for cultivation. Not every ancient cultivation system is so powerful. Ancient Devil is obviously a peerless genius who cultivates the ancient diabolism. Some of the older generation explained to prevent the younger generation from being discouraged. Ancient Devil's attacks were getting more and more violent. The demonic light on his body was extremely condensed. Could break anything. It kept breaking through the opponent's attacks and defenses. Bang. In the end, the 2 exchanged dozens of blows. The other party was no match and was sent flying by the ancient devil. A son of God who had stepped into the martial emperor realm had been defeated. The Son of Heaven had always been the synonym of invincibility. Apart from the other geniuses who were also a son of heaven, no one could match him. But today he was defeated by a genius of the ancient devil path. This ancient devil is too strong. His attack power is unparalleled. He has a high chance of entering the top 10. That's right. He might have a place in the top 10. Many people thought highly of ancient devil. After a few more battles, the remaining few king physiques all lost and were eliminated. Bubbles is about to make a move. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. He saw Bubbles' stone platform move forward and collide with another stone platform. Such a small child, he can't be a human, right? Someone looked at Bubbles. She was about 2 to 3 years old and looked extremely adorable. Some of the young ladies' eyes lit up as they looked at her, wishing that they could hug her in their arms and make love to her. She's not a human. This little girl's background is very shocking. An elder spoke. He was a great emperor who could see through Bubbles' true form. Chapter 21:11. Bubbles' Strength? Chapter 21:11. Bubbles' Strength. Hearing the words of the older heavenly emperors, many people were even more curious. Senior, what is her true form? Someone asked. Just watch and you'll know. She'll most likely reveal her true form in this battle. The old emperor smiled. Bubbles' opponent was an extremely burly man. He was almost 3 meters tall and his muscles were like dragons. In front of him, Bubbles looked like a tiny dot. Little fellow, reveal your true form. Otherwise, I really can't do anything to such a small thing like you. The burly young man said in a low, muffled voice. Big guy, don't think that you can defeat me just because you're big. If you want me to reveal my true body, it'll depend on your ability. Chirp chirp. Pow Pow pouted, her face filled with disdain. Little guy, let's see how capable you are. The burly young man grinned. In the next moment he charged towards the bubble like a mountain. Boom. He punched out and the void trembled. This was a child of primordial chaos who controlled primordial chaos laws. Ill spray. Bubbles called out, opened his mouth and exhaled. A transparent bubble enveloped the other party. At the same time, with a flash of her body, she disappeared. However, ripples appeared in the void as the space shattered like a mirror, transforming into a terrifying sharp sword that slashed towards the burly youth. Space-time law. The burly young man growled and kept punching out with his fists. The transparent bubbles burst and then he hit the space swords. However, when he punched out, the speed of his fist became extremely slow, like the speed of a turtle. Everyone knew that the burly young man was affected by the power of time. Time in the void had slowed down, so the speed of his fist had become extremely slow. Break! The burly youth roared as primordial chaos laws erupted. Primordial chaos laws were very similar to chaos laws. They were as heavy as mountains and each move contained infinite power. The other party wanted to use absolute power to break the restraints of the bubble spacetime law. Sure enough, the other party burst out with all his strength, and the speed of his fist suddenly increased, blowing up all the space swords. The fist energy did not stop as it continued to blast towards Pow Pow. However, spacetime laws were unpredictable. With a flash of her body, she disappeared and reappeared behind the burly youth, continuing her assault on him. After breaking through to the martial supreme realm, Bubbles' use of spacetime laws had become even more profound. Her various unfathomable techniques were even more powerful than before. The spacetime spirit mouse was born with the ability to control spacetime laws. The further it advanced, the more terrifying its control over spacetime became. Otherwise, the spacetime spirit rat would not be known as one of the top 10 war beasts. Boom. The burly young man quickly turned around and attacked the back. However, Bubbles' figure disappeared again. Just like that, the two of them exchanged dozens of moves, and the burly young man gradually lost his patience. Little guy, if you continue to waste time with me like this, neither of us will be able to do anything to the other. The burly young man roared. Who said that? Chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out and suddenly appeared above the burly man. His hands kept dancing. With the burly young man as the center, the void trembled like water waves, turning into killing power that attacked the burly man. Moreover, with the acceleration of the power of time, the power of space was shockingly fast. In an instant, it had reached the burly young man. The burly young man was shocked. He set up layers of defense around his body to block the Bubbles' attack. There was a series of explosions. At this moment, Bubbles opened her mouth and continuously spat bubbles. More than 100 transparent bubbles appeared and then disappeared. The next moment they all covered the burly youth. The big bubbles covered the small bubbles, enveloping the burly teenager in layers. Break, break, break. The burly young man continued to bombard the bubbles, trying to break them. When he had shattered all the transparent bubbles, Bubbles stopped and smiled at him. Big guy, you lose. Chirp chirp. What? The burly young man was stunned for a moment. Then he looked around and his face turned bitter. It turned out that he had unknowingly left the range of the stone platform. If he left the stone platform he would lose. Senior, didn't you say that she would reveal her true form? Someone asked the senior from before. This little fellow is very smart. Under her opponent's carelessness, she used the law of space and time to move her opponent out of the fighting stage. One originally thought that she could only win by revealing her true form. The old man explained awkwardly. Bubbles has become stronger. As expected, her presence by my side has restricted her instead. I can't unleash the potential of the spacetime spirit mouse. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Bubbles won and the stone platform flew back. The burly youth's stone platform turned into dust and dissipated. He could only back out helplessly. This time he had come to the end of the 10 lands battle. Every battle that followed was extremely exciting. It could be said to be a battle between the strong. There were even children of God who had the same laws fighting. Lu Ming watched as He fought against another son of Samsara. The two of them exchanged more than 1,000 moves before He won with great difficulty. However, he was also seriously injured. After winning, he quickly healed his injuries. The Death Blade also fought with his opponent for a few hundred moves, but it was also difficult for him to win. However, there were a few people who won easily. For example, the unscrupulous monk had become even stronger. He had almost crushed a son of heaven who had become a martial supreme. Yuan Xian was the same. She was overbearing and ended the battle in less than 10 moves. However, what made Lu Ming's face turn grave the most was the Child of Destiny. This time there was a gathering of heaven's favorites. There were dozens of children of God, but there was only one who could control the law of fate. Lu Ming and Yuan Xian were the only two who had mastered the laws of chaos. Among the children of heaven they were the least in number. Destiny's child was simply too powerful and unfathomable. It was difficult to measure his battle prowess. That was because his fighting style was too unique and shocking. He had fought with his opponent, and he had only said one sentence before his opponent had been defeated. He said, "You are destined to lose." Then, the other party was inexplicably injured and sent flying off the stone platform. This kind of battle method was simply inconceivable and shocked countless people. Controlling the law of fate can control the fate of all living things in the world. An older great emperor said. Countless people were horrified. By controlling the laws of fate, one could truly control the fate of all living things in the world. Didn't that mean that whoever he said would die would die? If that was the case, wouldn't it be too terrifying? He would be like a god that ruled over everything. However, another great emperor had said that if he wanted to use the mysteries of the laws of fate, he had to rely on his own strength. For example, Destiny's son was currently at the illusionary emperor realm. It was impossible for him to kill a true emperor. The other party's strength was completely capable of resisting the attack of the law of fate. Everyone nodded. This made sense. Otherwise, the laws of fate would be too terrifying. But even so, the law of fate was still extremely shocking. Many people believed that this time, the son of fate would win without a doubt. Chapter 2112. Chapter 2112, Fighting Muyang Again? Chapter 2112. Chapter 2112 Fighting Muyang Again. The competition continued, and there were only a few dozen stone platforms left floating in the air. As time passed, the number of platforms decreased. After that, there were a few more people who caught everyone's attention. A true dragon was extremely powerful and had unparalleled offensive power. However, there were no nomological fluctuations on its body. A great emperor had spoken and deduced that he cultivated the immemorial demonic Tao. The immemorial demonic Tao was also a type of the immemorial system. There was another person who was pitch black all over. He was like an iron tower and had immense strength. There seemed to be no energy fluctuations on his body. He only relied on his physical strength to send a son of God who had reached the martial emperor realm flying out of the fighting ring while spitting blood. Everyone was extremely shocked. Some great emperors speculated that this should also be a type of immemorial cultivation system, the immemorial body cultivator. He had cultivated his physical body, and his physical strength had reached an earth-shattering level. Some emperors explained that in the ancient times of the heaven realm, there were unparalleled experts who cultivated the body. They could strike down the stars in the sky with their physical bodies alone and break through all techniques with their power. It was extremely terrifying. There was a burst of discussion at the scene. The Battle of the 10 Lands was really unexpected. There were too many experts. Even geniuses from the immemorial cultivation system had appeared one after another. The primordial demonic Tao, the primordial demonic Tao, and the primordial body cultivators appeared one after another, suppressing the Son of Heaven. Many people speculated that all three of them could enter the top 10. Then Lu Ming saw that Xinghe had also defeated his opponent. When he came out of the Lotus World, the Star River had disappeared and never appeared. But without a doubt, this person who had been the number one genius of the Yuan Mountain had become stronger. His opponent was also a son of heaven, but he still managed to defeat his opponent with a domineering force, attracting the attention of many. After Xing Qin defeated his opponent, the stone platform under Lu Ming's feet moved forward. Is it finally my turn? Muyang? Lu Ming muttered and his expression turned interesting. That was because Muyang was on the other stone platform. What a coincidence. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a murderous intent. As for Muyang himself, he was also stunned for a moment. Then a killing intent as cold as a blade filled the air. Bang! The two stone platforms collided. Haha, Tianyun, your luck is really bad. This time I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Muyang let out a cold laugh. He was too excited. He had been looking forward to meeting Lu Ming. He did not expect that he would really meet him. This time he was going to take revenge. Why do one feel like I'm very lucky? Lu Ming smiled. Tianyun has encountered Muyang. 2 years ago, Muyang was defeated by Tianyun and was almost eliminated. However, Tianyun did not seem to have improved much in the past 2 years. He did not break through to the martial supreme realm while Muyang has already become a martial supreme. His combat strength must be above Tianyun's. In a battle between heaven's favorites, although combat strength is important, potential is just as important. It seems like Tianyun's potential isn't good enough, and his future achievements will be limited. Some people were discussing. Some people felt that although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, his potential was not good enough. Even if he could become a great emperor in the future, it would be difficult for him to achieve much. Bang! Bang! Muyang walked towards Lu Ming. His martial emperor realm cultivation was on full display. His aura was like a gale sweeping towards Lu Ming. In that kind of environment, you still haven't broken through to the rank of a martial supreme. You're really a piece of trash. In the future you'll never be my opponent. No, there's no future. Today you're going to die. Muyang sneered, his aura growing stronger and stronger. You talk too much nonsense, kill. Lu Ming suddenly shouted and charged at Muyang. His eyes were filled with the light of death as he launched fierce attacks. Muyang still wanted to show off, but he did not expect Lu Ming to suddenly attack. He did not follow the script at all. He roared and retreated. He pushed his hands forward and the void shattered Lu Ming's attack. Even if you sneak attack me, you're not my match. Just as Muyang was about to mock Lu Ming's attack power and speed suddenly increased. He destroyed Muyang's attack with one palm and slapped Muyang's face. Muyang let out a blood-curdling screech as his body flew out like a sandbag, almost flying off the stone platform. He was too miserable. His face was already a bloody mess and had almost exploded. Many people gasped. Was Lu Ming so powerful that he could beat up Muyang? Despicable man, that was just a sneak attack. Some experts of the Mu family were reluctant to admit it. All I'm going to kill you, kill? Muyang roared and charged at Lu Ming like a madman. He burst out with all his strength and rushed towards Lu Ming. An ocean formed by the void law enveloped Lu Ming. Initially he thought that he could easily beat Lu Ming up. He did not expect that he would be beaten up so badly by Lu Ming at the beginning of the fight. He was so mad that he could not wait to cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. Lu Ming stood still, letting the ocean of nothingness envelop him. Go to hell. Muyang roared and exploded wildly. His small world revolved. The power of the world and the void law worked together to turn Lu Ming into nothingness. However, Lu Ming's body was surrounded by a river of laws, which continuously blocked the invasion of the void laws. It's just a river of laws. It can't stop me. Kill. Attack. Muyang roared. The ocean of nothingness transformed into all kinds of offensive forces and charged at Lu Ming. Oh really? What if I add another one? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Suddenly, another river of laws emerged on his body. This was a river of laws formed by array Dao laws. 2 rivers of laws surrounded him. How is that possible? Muyang roared in disbelief. Lu Ming had not broken through to the martial supreme realm, had he? How could he control 2 laws? 2 laws? How is that possible? He's not a martial emperor yet, but he can actually control 2 types of laws. One is an ultimate law and the other is a king path law. The scene was in an uproar. Many people were shouting in shock. He had not broken through to the martial emperor realm, but he could control 2 laws. This was beyond their imagination. Only the great emperors looked calm and unsurprised. Many of them had seen through Lu Ming's earlier actions. He'll kill you today, Lu Ming said coldly. He shook his arms and the 2 laws fused. Lu Ming struck out with his palm. Muyang's void sea trembled wildly and then exploded. Lu Ming had attained perfection in 5 types of laws. After 5 rounds of tempering, his physical body and saint energy were too strong, far beyond the martial artists of the same level. His body and Saint power alone were already extremely powerful. With the fusion of the Death Law and the Array Dao Law, he exploded and broke through Muyang's void ocean. Muyang's body trembled violently and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Buzz! Lu Ming's body was like a bolt of lightning as he approached Muyang and struck out with his palm. Muyang tried his best to block it, but it was useless. His arm collided with Lu Ming's and was almost broken. The web between his thumb and forefinger was split and blood flowed. Bang! Bang! In an instant, Lu Ming struck out more than 100 palms. Muyang tried his best to block them. However, with each palm strike, the injury on his arm became more serious. After more than 100 palms, Muyang's hands exploded and blood and flesh flew everywhere. Chapter 2113. Chapter 2113, Everyone Shocked? Chapter 2113. Chapter 2113 Everyone Shocked, All. Muyang screamed with fear on his face. He turned around and tried to escape from the stone platform. However, Lu Ming would not let him have his way. He must kill Muyang. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and caught up with Muyang in an instant. He struck Muyang's back with his palm. Muyang screamed in pain as his body was pierced through, leaving a large hole in his back. At this moment, both his arms were crippled and his body was pierced through. His combat strength was greatly reduced and he was even less able to fight against Lu Ming. Bang! Lu Ming leaped up and kicked Muyang's face. Muyang's body landed heavily on the stone platform, causing it to rumble. A series of cracking sounds came from his body and dozens of his bones were broken. Then Lu Ming stepped on Muyang's face, rendering him unable to move. This was very similar to the first time Muyang challenged Lu Ming. He was also stepped on by Lu Ming and lost all his face. Oh, Tianyun, I'll kill you. I'll make sure you die without a proper burial. Muyang roared crazily. He was truly crazy. Before the battle, he was still acting all high and mighty, wanting Lu Ming to die miserably. He even mocked Lu Ming for being a good-for-nothing with no potential and that he would never be a match for him if he could not break through to the martial supreme realm. But how many moves had it been since the battle started? He was like a wild dog being stepped on by Lu Ming. This kind of humiliation made him go crazy. You still dare to threaten me in this situation? Lu Ming was indifferent. With a wave of his hand, two beams of light struck Muyang's legs, causing them to explode. All. Muyang screamed hysterically. With his current cultivation, even if he only had a head left, he could regrow his flesh and recover his body. However, the pain was real. Now, his four limbs were crippled and his body had been pierced through. He was severely injured and in extreme pain. Tianyun, you dare to kill me? The experts of my Mu clan are right here. If you dare to kill me, you'll have to face the revenge of my Mu clan. Muyang roared. He was certain that Lu Ming would not dare to kill him. He glared at Lu Ming viciously. As long as he did not die, he would definitely kill Lu Ming in the future no matter what. Bang! Lu Ming's expression turned cold. He stomped on Muyang's head and it burst like a watermelon. Then a soul flew out and was held in Lu Ming's hand. This was Muyang's soul. At this moment, the face of Muyang's soul was filled with fear. He did not expect that Lu Ming would really dare to kill him. Was he not afraid of the Mu family's revenge? You're looking for death. The Mu family's experts were truly enraged. Someone roared, and his aura was so powerful that it seemed as if the entire world was trembling. Without a doubt, this was the emperor of the Mu clan. Muyang was done for. His physical body had been completely destroyed, leaving only his soul. Even if he reincarnated, he would not have his previous achievements. This infuriated the Mu family's powerhouses. They were about to attack and kill Lu Ming. However, at the next moment, at least 10 cold gazes swept toward the Mu clan's emperor lord. As if a bucket of cold water had been poured on him, the Mu clan's emperor lord's anger instantly died down, and he withdrew his aura. This was the Battle of the 10 Lands, where great emperors from all regions gathered. No one was allowed to disrupt it. If he attacked, a group of great emperors would attack instantly and kill him. Tianyun, you'd better let Muyang go. Mu clan emperor didn't dare to attack, so he could only threaten. Lu Ming sneered and could not be bothered. Tianyun, let me go. One beg you, let me go. At this point, Muyang was truly afraid. He knew that he had encountered a lawless person, so he was not afraid of him at all. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He had no intention of letting Muyang go. With Muyang's personality, letting him go might be even more dangerous. He would definitely take revenge and not give up. Then what was the difference between letting go of Muyang or not? If I let you go, then you'll find another assassin from the Death God Nation to kill me? Lu Ming said coldly. Muyang was stunned. Then his face twisted in disbelief. Finally he cried out hysterically, "You're Lu Ming, you're Lu Ming. You're not dead." Muyang's shrieking voice spread in all directions. Everyone could hear it. Many people were shocked. What? He's Lu Ming, the son of chaos? Didn't the people of the Death God Nation spread the word that they had already killed Lu Ming? Don't tell me he's not dead. Many people were discussing in shock. At that moment Yuan Xn, the son of chaos, looked at Lu Ming with bright eyes, like two stars. The aura of the galaxy burst out. It was bathed in white divine light and stared at Lu Ming. He is Lu Ming. Qiuyu, Fengling, Longchen and the others were all overjoyed. Master, it must be Master. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were also overjoyed. They thought about why Lu Ming had helped them previously. They did not know him at all, but Lu Ming had helped them. They had been puzzled before, but they finally understood now. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. So, he's Lu Ming. Some great emperors whispered. They had long seen through Lu Ming's true appearance. However, they had never seen Lu Ming before, so they had no idea that he was Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming did not hide anything. His body began to change and his true appearance was revealed. It's really Lu Ming. Those who had seen Lu Ming before exclaimed in disbelief. Aha, I've said it before. How could Lu Ming die? Desolate Li laughed. The Death God Nation really knows how to put gold on their own face. Ouyang Wushuang also laughed. Young master, Qiuyu was overjoyed. Some people who were familiar with Lu Ming were overjoyed. Previously, although they did not believe that Lu Ming was dead, they could not help but worry. The assassin organization of the Death God Nation was too terrifying. They were afraid that it might be true. They were finally at ease when they saw Lu Ming. Why is he still not dead? Some of the people who had a grudge against Lu Ming had a change in their expressions and their faces turned ugly. The masters of the Hung family, the He family, the Daoyuo Heaven sect, the Wan family, the Golden Crow clan, the Sirius Tower, and other forces stood in the crowd. They were very indignant and very pitiful. They could not wait for Lu Ming to be killed. Especially those forces from ancient Moon Holy Land. Lu Ming was getting stronger and stronger. The pressure he gave them was too great, making them extremely worried. It's really you. Yuan Xn, the son of chaos, was shrouded in the light of chaos. He looked like a god of war as he stared at Lu Ming. He had been invincible all his life and rarely suffered losses. However, during the Hunyuan sect's assessment, he had suffered a great loss. He was defeated by Lu Ming and lost the last legacy. Moreover, the inheritance of the chaos, the arch, was also in Lu Ming's hands. He and Lu Ming were bound to have a battle. That's not right. How can he be Lu Ming? Isn't he the son of death who controls the death law? Some people calmed down and finally discovered the problem. Previously, Lu Ming had clearly used the death rule. However, Lu Ming was the son of chaos. The scene was originally very lively and many people were talking about it. Now, it suddenly quieted down and there was no sound at all. Everyone was staring at Lu Ming. Their eyes were wide open and they could not wait to see through Lu Ming. Even the great emperors and those close to Lu Ming, such as Huang Ling, were in disbelief. Everyone except Qiuyu had long known that Lu Ming had mastered the death rule. No one else had seen it before. Chapter 21:14. Chapter 21:14, Uproar. Chapter 21:14. Chapter 2114 Uproar. A person could actually control two types of ultimate laws? Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Some people even suspected that someone was in disguise and pretending to be Lu Ming. However, a great emperor had spoken, proving that this was Lu Ming's true appearance. He had not disguised himself. Whoosh! The scene exploded. It was a complete mess. A single person could actually control two ultimate maxims at the same time, and they were below the rank of a martial supreme. In addition to the array Dao law from before, Lu Ming had mastered three types of ultimate maxims. The pot exploded, it completely exploded. This was unprecedented. Oh my god, this is heaven-defying. Lu Ming is going to defy heaven. How is it possible for a person to control two ultimate maxims at the same time? Even a martial emperor can't do it. The strongest cannot be tolerated. This has been a truth since ancient times. Now the truth has been broken. There was a clamor. Many people were shouting. Even many of the older generation were like this. The main reason was that the impact was too great. It was as if the truth that he had always believed in had collapsed in an instant. and he could not calm down. Even the emperor could not remain calm. He looked at Lu Ming as if he was a monster. How is this possible? How is this possible? The forces that had a grudge against Lu Ming, such as the Hung family, were all in disbelief. Boom. At this moment, Yuan Xin, Destiny's Child, and the other top geniuses could no longer remain calm. A terrifying aura erupted from their bodies. Invincible. Brother Lu Ming is invincible. Bubbles shouted. Master is invincible. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli also joined in. Lu Ming touched his nose. He knew that once he revealed his true identity, it would definitely cause an uproar and shock the world. However, he still didn't hide it. That was because if he were to face Yuan Xin, Destiny's Child, and the others later on, he would definitely not be able to hide it and would have to reveal his full strength. Whether he was exposed earlier or later, he would still be exposed. In addition, the energy in Celestial Emperor's corporeal body had already been stored up to 36%. He had more confidence now and there were fewer concerns. If the Mu family wanted to attack him, Xiangxiang, Qiyue, and the others after the Battle of the Ten Lands ended, he would just take them and run. In any case, the defensive power of Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was astonishing, not to mention that there were also Emperor Wuxiang, Uncle Kong, and the others. At this moment, Uncle Kong, Emperor Formless, and the others couldn't remain calm. They were all stroking their beards with all their might. They had lived for countless years, but this was the first time they had seen such a thing. Let me go. At this moment, Muyang was almost scared to death as he screamed madly. A person could actually control 2 ultimate maxims. No wonder his combat strength was so terrifying. He was about to be scared to death. Muyang, you were the one who asked the Death God Nation to assassinate me, right? Lu Ming said coldly. Lu Ming, please spare me, Muyang screamed in fear. Many people's hearts skipped a beat. It seemed that it was really Muyang's doing. He had asked the people of the Death God Nation to assassinate Lu Ming. They did not know what method Lu Ming had used, but he had actually avoided death and even made the people of the Death God Nation think that they had killed Lu Ming. Despicable. You can't defeat my master, but you secretly ordered an assassin to kill my master. You deserve to die. Master, kill him. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were filled with righteous indignation. They wanted to kill Muyang personally. Muyang, have a safe journey, Lu Ming said. Then, under Muyang's frightened gaze, he squeezed hard. The terrifying power directly crushed Muyang's soul, causing it to scatter. Damn it. The emperor from the Mu family roared, his eyes extremely sinister. A godson was killed just like that. Their hearts were bleeding. The king body was said to have the potential of a great emperor, and the son of God was undoubtedly even stronger. He had a very high chance of breaking through to the great emperor realm, and he could even take a step closer to the heavenly emperor realm. Any force would treat such a prodigy as a treasure. However, he was killed by Lu Ming in front of everyone. His soul had been scattered. After killing Muyang, the stone platform that represented him turned into a puff of smoke and dissipated. Lu Ming returned to the stone platform and floated back. Many pairs of eyes fell on Lu Ming. Some of them were filled with solemnness, while others were filled with a strong fighting spirit. Previously, everyone did not take Lu Ming seriously. No matter how strong an emperor-to-be was, he would not pose a threat to them. But now it was different. Lu Ming had killed Muyang and for the first time, mastered 2 ultimate maxims. The most important thing was that Lu Ming did not use the Chaos Law when he killed Muyang. If he used the Chaos Law and the Death Law, how powerful would it be when the two were combined? Everyone re-evaluated Lu Ming's combat ability. Of course, some people were not optimistic about Lu Ming's chances. They thought that it was already unprecedented for him to control 2 ultimate maxims at the same time. It was impossible to merge the 2 ultimate maxims and increase the power. Many people agreed with this view. The competition continued as everyone struggled to calm down. After the battle between Lu Ming and Muyang, there were only about 20 people left. It could be said that those who remained were the strongest of the strong. Every battle attracted the attention of the crowd. Destiny's Child, Yuan Xin, Wu Liang, and the others still managed to defeat their opponents. The Death Blade had finally come to an end. He had encountered the true dragon, which seemed to have cultivated the primordial demonic Tao. It was extremely powerful. Although the Death Blade had tried his best, he was still no match for it and was defeated after dozens of moves. In the Star River, he had also encountered a powerful opponent. However, he was indeed very strong himself. He fought with his opponent for over 100 moves and won by a narrow margin. Bubbles had also defeated his opponent. When it was Lu Ming's turn again, his opponent was not strong. He was slightly weaker than Muyang and was defeated by Lu Ming. Slowly there were only 13 people left. The 13 stone platforms floated in the air and sized each other up. It could be said that each of these 13 people was extremely powerful. Among them, the son of fate, Yuan Xian Wu Liang, the true dragon who cultivated the immemorial demonic Tao, the immemorial body cultivator, and the son of spacetime were the most popular. This was because these people had already reached the martial emperor realm 2 years ago. 2 years later, he would undoubtedly be even more powerful and his strength would be unfathomable. However, these people had yet to meet each other. Could it be related to the stone platform? Lu Ming pondered. Perhaps the stone platform could roughly distinguish the strength of the people. Hence, some of the strongest people would automatically avoid them. This was very possible. If the strongest people had encountered it earlier, it would have been a little unfair. The stone platform spun, and then 2 stone platforms flew out and collided with each other. One of them was Destiny's Child. The person who had collided with Destiny's Child had an extremely ugly expression. He had actually encountered the Son of Fate. The name of the child of destiny was Tianming. It was named after the city of destiny, which showed that his heart was higher than the sky. And he was worthy of this name. Tianming was dressed in white, his long hair reaching his waist. He was extremely handsome, just like the legendary Son of God. He had a smile on his face the entire time. He stood there, but the surface of his body seemed to be shrouded in a layer of hazy radiance, making him look as if he was not in this world. Chapter 21:15. Chapter 21:14, Terrifying Fate Law. Chapter 21:15. Chapter 2114 Terrifying Fate Law. The child of destiny, Tianming, was the most favored candidate to win the championship. Before the competition, Yuan Xian was the only one who was thought to be able to compete with Tianming. Of course, there were many dark horses that had emerged, such as Wu Liang, the true dragon, and the immemorial body cultivator. They were all unfathomable. However, most people still thought that Tianming should have no problem winning. Destiny's Child was someone who could control one's fate. In the course of countless years, there had only been a few of them. Every single one of them stood at the peak and became an expert. Do you want to admit defeat? Tianming asked his opponent with a calm and peaceful smile. Of the top 10 laws, the fate law faintly suppresses the other laws. I'd like to experience it, said the young man. He was also a very powerful son of heaven. 2 years ago he was about to become an emperor. After 2 years of cultivation, his cultivation had reached the peak of 1-star void emperor. How could he surrender without a fight? No. Tianming shook his head and said, from the moment you said that, your fate has already been decided. You are going to lose. What bullshit fate? My fate is up to me, not the heavens. No one can control my fate. The young man shouted and charged toward Tianming. You are destined to be struck by lightning. Tianming said, still smiling. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, endless lightning appeared out of thin air and struck towards the other party. Each bolt of lightning was colorful. There were 5 colors and they were as thick as an arm. Their power was shocking. The densely packed lightning directly drowned the young man. The young man let out a long roar and madly used his divine abilities to resist the lightning. Your fate is to be burned. Tianming spoke again. Then endless flames appeared. They were all extremely terrifying flames and drowned the young man. Your fate is to be cut by a blade. Your fate is to be hammered. Tianming continued to speak and every word he said came true. All kinds of attacks were launched at his opponent. The young man finally could not hold on any longer. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and was sent flying out of the battle stage. As for Tianming, from the beginning to the end, he had a smile on his face. He stood on the stone platform in white and did not move a single step. He was extraordinary. Everyone gasped in shock. The law of fate was too terrifying. Could it really determine a person's fate? If he said that the other party would be struck by lightning, then he would be struck by lightning. If he wanted to be cut by a blade, then he would be cut by a blade. It was as if he was in control of the fate of others. Even Lu Ming's eyes were extremely solemn. Tianming's stone platform flew back and there were still 12 people on the scene. As long as another 20% of the competition went on, the top 10 would be decided. Soon, 2 more stone platforms flew out and collided with each other. Everyone's hearts trembled again. This time the one who took the stage was Yuan Xian. His opponent's face also darkened. In the eyes of others, Yuan Xian was a person who could contend with the heavenly mandate realm. It could only be considered bad luck to encounter him. Boom. Yuan Xian attacked directly in a domineering manner. His Chaos Divine Fist was unparalleled in attack power, crushing his opponent as soon as he made his move. Although his opponent was strong, he was still at a disadvantage. He was completely outmatched. Yuan Xin's cultivation is definitely not at the level of a 1-star Void Emperor. I'm afraid she's already at the level of a 2-star Void Emperor. Someone guessed. Many people nodded their heads. This was very normal. 2 years ago, Yuan Xian had already become a Saint Emperor. In the past 2 years, she had encountered many opportunities. How could she not have improved? Not long after, Yuan Xin's opponent was defeated, coughing up blood and retreating from the fighting ring. After Yuan Xian returned, there were still 11 people left. Then 2 more stone platforms collided with each other. It's him, an immemorial body cultivator. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with interest. One of them was the immemorial body cultivator called Baoda. This person was almost 3 meters tall. He was bald and his entire body was pitch black. He was like a piece of black charcoal but also like a piece of black steel, as if he was filled with endless power. The immemorial body cultivators specialized in cultivating the physical body. They had unparalleled physiques and boundless strength. Their strength could break 10,000 techniques. Lu Ming was very interested. His Raozen had been tempered 5 times in a row and contained 3 wisps of chaos chi. It was already very powerful. But compared to Baoda, there was still a big gap. Baoda's opponent's expression was also very ugly. This was because Baoda was also considered one of the strongest. Why did the last 3 people only encounter the strongest few? Haha, little guy, make your move. Baoda grinned and walked towards the other party like a giant. Boom. Baoda attacked. It was simple and direct. He directly punched out. This punch directly pierced through the space. His pitch-black fist was like an ancient divine mountain that pressed down on the other party. The other party wasn't weak either. Could be said that he was very strong. He erupted with all his strength and resisted Baoda. Unfortunately, he was still no match for Baoda. Baoda's fist landed and directly pierced through the ultimate maxim. His opponent's expression changed drastically as he rapidly retreated. He was almost sent flying off the stone platform by Baoda. Little guy, you can't do it, ha ha ha. Baoda laughed loudly. His 3-meter-tall body directly charged towards the other party at an astonishing speed. Boom. The other party used all his strength to blast out a divine art, but it was useless when it landed on Baoda's body. It didn't break Baoda's defense. Baoda's body was like a divine weapon. He broke through the opponent's attack and then ruthlessly hit the opponent's body. The other party grunted and a crackling sound came from his body. Then he spat out a large mouthful of blood and his body flew out of the fighting ring. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. This Baoda was truly terrifying. His strength was boundless and he had defeated his opponent in just a few moves. What terrifying strength. It's pure physical strength. In the crowd, Desolate Li and Long Chen's expressions were extremely serious. They cultivated the law of extremity and were known as the ultimate power, but compared to Baoda, they were far from it. Baoda defeated his opponent, and there were only 10 people left. The top 10 had been born. They were Tianming, Yuan Xian, Wu Liang, Baoda, the true dragon Pinker, the son of time and space Yun Haoge, Bubbles, Heng Xinghe, the ancient devil, and Lu Ming. Everyone's eyes fell on the 10 people. All of Mount Yuan was filled with countless chosen, including the 10 most powerful chosen, who were the focus of attention. Alright, now that the top 10 have been born, I'll give you 3 days to rest. 3 days later, the final battle will begin. The white-haired old man stepped out and announced, Master is too powerful. And Bubbles? Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli and the rest cheered in excitement. However, most people's expressions were ugly. The geniuses they had high hopes for had all failed and failed to enter the top 10. Senior, I'm not convinced. At this time, a voice rang out, making everyone quiet down. A young man stepped forward and cupped his fists at the white-haired old man. I'm not convinced either. Me too. A few young men walked out and clasped their hands at the white-haired old man. Chapter 21:16. Top 10? Chapter 21:16. Top 10. The crowd recognized 3 of them. They were the last 3 young men who had been defeated by Tianming, Yuan Xian, and Baoda respectively. The other 2 people were recognized by everyone. They were also the 2 people who had met Tianming and Yuan Xian. A total of 5 people. What do you have to say? The white-haired old man asked. Among the 10 of them, some of them are not strong enough to enter the top 10. That's right. They're just lucky. They didn't meet any strong opponents, so they're not convinced. The young men spoke one after another. Everyone understood. These young men felt that they were too unlucky to have met Tianming, Yuan Xian, and the others. They had been defeated because Tianming and the others were too strong. Among the current top 10, many people had not met Tianming and the others. Therefore, these young men thought that they had lost because of luck and not because of strength. Many people had the same thought. Their gazes were especially fixed on Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Xinghe. I see. The white-haired elder nodded and said, "The stone platform under your feet has a special function, so some people did not encounter it in advance. However, one believed that you will not be convinced without a fight. How about this? One will give you a chance. You can challenge any one of the 10 people. If you win, you can replace them." As soon as he said that, the young men's eyes lit up. At the same time, their gazes landed on Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Xing Qin. They were filled with a strong fighting spirit. In fact, they were not convinced by Lu Ming and the other two. They believed that they were stronger than Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Xing Qin. Although Lu Ming had mastered 2 ultimate maxims, he was only an emperor to be after all. Although he had defeated Muyang before, which one of them was not stronger than him? There was also Bubbles, a 3 to 4-year-old child. She was only a 1-star void emperor, so they were not afraid. The same was true for the Eternal Star River. It was only a 1-star illusionary emperor. As for the ancient devil, although it was equivalent to a 1-star void emperor, it cultivated the immemorial devil Dao and had extremely powerful combat strength. They were not confident. As for Tianming, Yuan Xian, Wu Liang, Bao De Ao Ku, and Yun Haoge, they didn't even consider them. These 6 people had already become divine emperors 2 years ago, and they were unfathomable now. He'll start the challenge. A red-haired young man stepped out. Why should you be the one to challenge first? He'll go first. He'll go first. There were a total of 5 young men, and they all shouted loudly wanting to challenge him first. The first to challenge would definitely have the advantage and they could choose the weakest. In the end, the white-haired old man asked them to draw lots to decide who would go first. In the end, a tall and thin young man drew the first to fight. Previously, this person had been defeated by Baoda. Now he was the first to challenge him. His gaze scanned Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Xinghe before finally landing on Xinghe. You train in the eternal laws as well. Come out and fight. The tall, skinny youth said. He also trained in the eternal laws. I was just about to fight you. Xing Chen's eyes were bright as he stepped forward, exuding a powerful aura. The 2 of them both trained in the eternal laws. The 2 of them were not the only geniuses who cultivated in the eternal laws, but they were undoubtedly the strongest. Bang, bang. Suddenly the 2 of them began to fight. Eternal laws constantly collided with each other, and the battle was extremely intense. In the beginning the 2 were evenly matched. After exchanging more than 100 moves, it was difficult to determine the winner. However, after more than 100 moves, the galaxy began to gain the upper hand and suppress the other party. The galaxy roared, its aura was wild, its long hair danced in the wind, and its eyes were as bright as the stars. Back then he had been defeated by Lu Ming. He had been lying low and cultivating with all his heart. He had finally transformed and was stronger than before. Good haha. The emperor of the Hung clan laughed heartily. He was extremely carefree. After a few dozen more moves, Xing Qin sent his opponent flying off the stone platform and won. The first challenge had ended in failure, causing the remaining young challengers to have grave expressions. Originally, in their eyes, Xinghe was the weakest person, but he still failed the challenge. Now it's my turn. The red-haired young man who had been defeated by Tianming stepped forward and his gaze landed on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, come out and fight. The young man with long fiery red hair fixed his eyes on Lu Ming. And you thought one was a pushover. Lu Ming pursed his lips. With a thought, the stone platform under his feet flew forward and the red-haired young man landed on the stone platform. A stone platform was equivalent to a battle platform. Lu Ming, you're not a great emperor yet. Although you've mastered 2 ultimate maxims, I can still defeat you, the young man with long red hair clamored, trying to provoke Lu Ming. Blowing. Before the fiery red long-haired young man could finish his sentence, Lu Ming had already rushed at him. He used the Chaos Laws and the Array Dao Laws. The 2 laws merged and he used the Chaos Divine Palm to strike at the fiery red long-haired young man. The red-haired young man exploded and used all his strength to fight against Lu Ming. Lu Ming's fusion of the Chaos Laws and the Array Dao Laws was more powerful than the fusion of the Death Laws and the Array Dao Laws. After all, the Chaos Divine Palm was a divine power technique of the Chaos Laws. Lu Ming's attacks were like a storm, continuously attacking the red-haired young man. In an instant he had struck out hundreds of palms. Bang! Bang! After over 100 collisions, the red-haired young man's arm went numb and was almost broken. His body trembled continuously as he retreated. From the beginning of the fight, he had been suppressed by Lu Ming and was completely at a disadvantage. It was difficult for him to resist, and in the end, he retreated from the stone platform. "You still dare to challenge me? You're not that great?" Lu Ming pursed his lips and flew back along with the stone platform. Lu Ming did not use the fusion of the Chaos Law and the Death Law. Could it be that he really did not fuse the two laws together? It's naturally not that easy to fuse two ultimate maxims. However, even so, his strength is still very strong, slightly stronger than Xinghe. Some people were discussing. The remaining challengers' expressions turned even uglier. Even the weakest among them had such strength. Could it be that they would not succeed in their challenge? Then a young man challenged Bubbles. Bubbles still did not reveal her true form. Using the mysterious and unpredictable space-time laws, she played with her opponent for 100 to 200 moves. In the end, she also inexplicably sent her opponent off the stone platform and won. The other two challengers looked at each other, sighed, shook their heads and gave up the challenge. Even Lu Ming, Bubbles and Xinghe were so powerful. If they were to challenge the remaining people, they would not have the confidence to do so. They would only be abused. It was better not to challenge them. At this point, the top 10 were officially born. After a round of challenges, no one doubted Lu Ming and the rest's combat strength anymore. They were worthy of their name. They were the top 10 strongest among the younger generation in Yuanlu. The 10 of them sized each other up and collided with each other, creating a brilliant flame. Yuan Xan in particular, glanced at Lu Ming with a cold and sharp gaze. Chapter 21:17. The Battle Between the Top 10. Chapter 21:17. The battle between the top 10. The galaxy in particular had the most gazes on Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, this time I'll defeat you." Xing Chen spoke, his eyes sharp and threatening. "I'll wait for you to make your move." Lu Ming's answer was very simple. To be honest, he no longer cared about the galaxy. Lu Ming's current opponents were Tianming and Yuan Xan. Yun Haoge, on the other hand, looked at the bubble with a hint of greed in his eyes. "Little guy, you must be a kind of divine beast. I can't believe you can master the law of time and space. How about this? Be my beast pet and fight with me." Yun Haoge said. He was indeed burning with passion. If he had a pet that could master the laws of time and space with him, it would be of great help to him. "You should be my human pet." Bubbles pursed her lips in disdain. "I will make you convinced," Yun Haoge said coldly. "Brother Lu Ming, is that person an idiot? He actually wants me to be his beast pet." In a flash, Pao Pao appeared on Lu Ming's body. Her small body was like an octopus as she clung onto Lu Ming. "He's indeed stupid." Lu Ming smiled and touched Bubbles' small head. Everyone was stunned. It turned out that Lu Ming and Bubbles had such a good relationship. Could Bubbles be Lu Ming's pet? Was it raised by Lu Ming? That was terrifying. The two of them had entered the top 10. Yun Haoge's face darkened as he cast a cold glance at Lu Ming. On the other side, Bao de Aoku, an ancient devil, also looked at each other, their battle power bursting out. The three of them all cultivated the immemorial system and were geniuses. Naturally, they wanted to see who was stronger. Among the 10 people, only Tianming stood there with a calm face. He always had a smile on his face as if he was not involved in this. At the scene, everyone was looking forward to it. The battle had not even started, and they were already in a state of mutual hostility. The final battle for the top 10 would definitely be very exciting and could be called an epic showdown. In the history of the primordial realm, there had never been so many geniuses, and there had never been a battle of the 10 lands. This battle was unprecedented. Many of the sons of God were reduced to a foil. If this was said decades ago, they would probably be laughed at to death. In the past, a son of God was a legend, a figure that could suppress an era. However, in this era he was reduced to a foil. This made countless people excited. This battle was destined to be recorded in the history books and be passed down through the ages. "You guys adjust your breathing. We'll fight in 3 days." The white-haired old man announced once more. Everyone looked for a place to rest, and Lu Ming walked towards Qiuyu and the rest. "Young master, I knew you would be fine." Qiuyu was overjoyed. She threw herself into Lu Ming's arms, ignoring the strange looks from others. "Lu Ming. Huang Ling walked over with a complicated look in her eyes, but it was hidden by her. Following that, the others came over one after another to greet Lu Ming. Master. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli bowed to Lu Ming. Many people at the side did not know that Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were Lu Ming's disciples. When they saw them, they were all dumbfounded. Lu Ming was young and extraordinary to begin with. Now he even had 2 disciples of the Son of God. It was truly shocking. Even the great emperors were very envious. You too, cultivate well and strive to become divine emperors as soon as possible. Lu Ming looked at Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli. At the same time he thought of himself. It seemed that it would be very difficult for him to become a saint emperor. Looking at the current situation, he was probably going to be surpassed by his 2 disciples. This made his old face blush slightly. Then Lu Ming saluted Emperor Notionless, Uncle Kong and the others. Lu Ming, this time give it your all. After the 10 lands battle, there will be great opportunities waiting for you. Emperor Formless smiled as he sent a message to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. There was still a great opportunity waiting for them. However, thinking about it, it made sense. Previously, they had only been selected, yet they had been able to enter a corner of the world left behind by the primordial realm at the beginning. Their cultivation had rapidly increased, so now that it was the final battle, how could they not have any opportunities? I'll do my best. Lu Ming nodded. After that, Lu Ming chose a spot and sat cross-legged in the air. He circulated his energy and adjusted his breathing to his best condition. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. The final battle was about to begin. The white-haired old man stood on the peak of Destiny Mountain. With a wave of his hand, a huge fighting stage appeared on the peak of Destiny Mountain. It was 100 miles long and 100 miles wide. It was purple gold in color and full of nobility. Obviously, the following battles would be held on this fighting ring. The final 10 ranking battles will be fought in turns. Everyone will have to fight against the other 9 and be ranked according to their winning rate. The white-haired old man said. Lu Ming nodded. As he had expected, it was indeed this hairstyle. This method of ranking was the fairest. It was completely based on strength and there was no such thing as luck. This method was also the most commonly used method. Lu Ming had encountered this method more than once or twice along the way. Also, you are not allowed to kill anyone in the battle between you 2. The white-haired old man added. Many people nodded. The last 10 people were all extremely talented. If they died because of this, it would be a great loss, which was why there was such a rule. Lu Ming secretly felt that it was a pity. He had wanted to take this opportunity to settle the problem of the galaxy. Alright, I'll arrange the order of the battles. The first battle is between Heng Xinghe and Lu Ming. The white-haired elder announced. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did not expect that he would be the first one to fight. Moreover, his opponent was from the Stellar River. Could it be that the white-haired elder had the intention? The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up. This was good too. He would start with the Star River first. Bus. Lu Ming stepped in and landed on the fighting ring. Xing Chen's figure also landed on the fighting ring. His eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit, like a flame, burning fiercely. Lu Ming, you're going to lose this time. Xing River shouted, his battle intent soaring. You were already defeated back then. Now you are even less of a match for me. Lu Ming shook his head, his voice silent. Many people were stunned and looked enlightened. It seemed that Lu Ming and the Star River had already fought. Heng Xing River and Lu Ming are both from Mount Yuan. Naturally, they've crossed swords before. It seems that the galaxy is not Lu Ming's match. They have been defeated in the past. Many people were discussing. That time it was Lu Ming who took advantage of the situation. The Heng family member explained. The cultivators of the various forces in Yuan Mountain were watching with full attention. Lu Ming and Heng Xing River both came from Mount Yuan. In the past, Heng Xing River had always been known as the #1 prodigy of Mount Yuan. Ever since Lu Ming's rise, this phenomenon changed. Whoever won this battle would be the #1 genius of the Yuan Mountain. Heng Xinghe, I'll crush you. I'll let you understand the difference between us. Lu Ming said calmly. Bang, bang. Then he took a step forward. With each step, a river of laws appeared on his body. Chapter 21:18. Chapter 21:18, Defeating the Star River Again. Chapter 21:18. Chapter 2118, Defeating the Star River Again. Lu Ming took a step forward. With each step, a river of laws would appear on his body. With his first step, the laws of chaos formed a river that surrounded Lu Ming. With his second step, another river of laws appeared. It was the river of the law of death. Chaos and death, the two most powerful rivers of laws, surrounded Lu Ming, attracting everyone's attention. This was because this was a scene that had never appeared in the primordial realm since ancient times. Could be called a miracle. Many people even took out their image-exterminating stones to record everything. Then a shocking scene appeared. The two rivers of laws had actually fused together and turned into a two-colored river of laws. It's fused. The two ultimate maxims have fused together. Someone shouted in excitement. Oh my God, this is heaven-defying. The two ultimate maxims have really fused together. What a miracle. Countless people shouted. Even the great emperors couldn't keep calm anymore. Their eyes were wide open. The fusion of two ultimate maxims was a legend. At this moment, Yuan Xian, Baoda, and the others were all shocked. What the fuck, why is this guy always so perverted? The unscrupulous monk chanted the name of Buddha, and his face turned bitter. Even Tianming, who had always been calm and collected, had his smile disappear. He was surprised. The Star River's mind was also shaken, and it revealed a look of disbelief. I'll defeat you. Lu Ming strode forward like a bolt of lightning, charging toward the Star River. The eternal God Bell. The eternal Star River howled. He was unwilling to give up. He still wanted to fight. A divine bell with ancient patterns on it appeared on his body. Clang. The eternal God Bell trembled and let out a terrifying sound of killing. Compared to the past, the power of the eternal God Clock of the Stellar River was much stronger. However, now that Lu Ming's Chaos Law and Death Law had merged, in addition to his extremely condensed saint energy and physical strength, the combat power that erupted was too powerful. Lu Ming ignored the attack from the galaxy. He did not stop and continued to attack. The sounds of killing landed on Lu Ming's body but were blocked by the two-colored river of laws. They could not break through Lu Ming's defense at all. In an instant, Lu Ming was close to the galaxy. Boom. Lu Ming used the Chaos Divine Palm and fused the two ultimate maxims. He struck the Eternal God Bell in the Stellar River with his palm. Thump. The Eternal God Bell trembled crazily and exploded with terrifying sound waves that swept in all directions. Some true emperors and great sovereigns released a layer of light to block the sound waves. Otherwise, many people would have been injured. Those with weaker cultivation might have even been killed by the sound waves. Gotcha. A cracking sound came from the Eternal God Bell and cracks appeared on it. The cracks were like cobwebs that covered the Eternal God Bell. Bang. In the end, the Eternal God Bell exploded into light spots and disappeared. Lu Ming's palm force did not stop and it bombarded Xing's body. Xing's body was like a rice straw man. He flew out and fell heavily on the ground, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. He was defeated. Xinghe had been defeated in just one move. Many people were stunned. Is the power of the fusion of two ultimate maxims so terrifying? Someone's voice was hoarse and filled with disbelief. Star River was a peerless genius who had made it into the top 10. However, he was defeated by Lu Ming in one move. The gap between them was shocking and overwhelming. Since ancient times, no one in the primordial realm has controlled two supreme laws, nor has anyone fused two supreme laws. No one knows what kind of power will be produced when two supreme laws are fused. Someone said solemnly. Everyone took a deep breath. That was indeed the case. Moreover, they recalled that Lu Ming could control a few types of laws. A few types of laws could form a river and would temper his saint energy and physical body every time. No wonder Lu Ming's combat strength was so strong. They finally understood. You've lost. Lu Ming said indifferently, his gaze looking at the galaxy indifferently. Xing Qin spat out another mouthful of blood. He could not accept this result. Back then he was the #1 heaven's favorite of Mount Yuan. He was high and mighty looking down on others. When he first met Lu Ming he did not care about him at all. Even though he knew that Lu Ming was the son of chaos, he did not care. He thought that he was strong enough to suppress all enemies and would not be defeated. However, he was defeated by Lu Ming in the world of the lotus flower. However, at that time Lu Ming had cast some kind of secret skill. He had always thought that Lu Ming had borrowed external power and that he would not lose if he relied on his own strength. All these years, he had been cultivating in seclusion, especially when he found out about the 10 Lands battle. He cultivated even more arduously. He wanted to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat in the 10 Lands battle. He wanted to completely suppress Lu Ming and trample him under his feet. Even though this time, geniuses were as numerous as clouds, exceeding his imagination, he still made it into the top 10. Unfortunately, his opponent, Lu Ming, had an even more amazing performance. Although he had yet to become a sovereign, he had mastered 2 ultimate laws. This was unprecedented. And now he had defeated him in one move. His combat strength was so strong that he could look down on him. At this moment his self-confidence and belief had suffered a huge blow. He kept coughing up blood. Damn it! The emperor of the Hung family roared. Lu Ming was the nemesis of the Hung family. Master is mighty. Master is invincible. Lu Xiangxiang and Ouyang Moli were shouting and wrangling. They were even happier than if they had won. Do you still want to continue? Lu Ming continued to step forward. The long river of 2-colored laws surrounded him, like a god descending to the mortal world. The Star River had not admitted defeat. If he wanted to fight again, it was exactly what Lu Ming wanted. He could beat the Star River ruthlessly. Unfortunately, the galaxy did not give him the chance. I've lost. Xinghe was extremely unwilling, but he could only admit defeat. Otherwise he would only be tortured. I've said it before. If I can defeat you once, then one can defeat you twice. In the future you will never be my opponent. Lu Ming left behind these words arrogantly and then flew out of the fighting ring. Xing Chen's expression was ugly. He also retreated from the fighting ring, took a pill and started to treat his injuries. This was only his first battle. There were more battles waiting for him. The first battle, Lu Ming wins. The second battle, Bubbles versus Yun Haoge. The white-haired old man announced. Many people's eyes immediately lit up. They realized that every match that followed would be very attractive. Bubbles and Yun Haoge had both mastered the space-time law. Moreover, according to the great emperor, Bubbles' true form was a divine beast with a great origin. It made everyone's heart itch as they wanted to know what Bubbles' true form was. Bubbles, you can do it. Lu Ming touched Bubbles' small head. Don't worry, you'll definitely beat up that guy who's so weird. Chirp chirp. Pow Pow cried out. Not far away, Yun Haoge's face darkened. What did he mean by being eccentric? When was he eccentric? With a cold face he stepped onto the fighting ring, and so did Bubbles. Chapter 21:19. The Clash of Space-Time Laws. Chapter 21:19. The clash of space-time laws become my tamed beast. We both cultivate the space-time laws. It'll be beneficial to both of us. Yun Haoge spoke again. It's the same the other way around, you can just be my human pet. Pow Pow pouted and said. You don't agree? Yun Haoge's face darkened. I'll beat you up until you agree. Bus. Yun Haoge moved. As he moved, the space around him rippled like water. His body seemed to be traveling through space at an unbelievable speed. Many people had only just seen him move when Yun Haoge's body had already appeared in front of her in the next instant. His hand reached out and grabbed at her. The bubble did not even have time to dodge and was caught by the other party's large hand. However, Yun Haoge's grip on the bubble missed. The bubble's figure shattered like an illusion. It was just a mirror image and Bubble had already left the place. Just as Yun Haoge grabbed onto Bubble's mirror image, Bubble's figure suddenly appeared behind Yun Haoge. She reached out her tiny hand and attacked Yun Haoge. At the same time, Yun Haoge's figure shattered with a bang. This was also a mirror image and Yun Haoge's figure had already left. Bus. Whoosh. In an instant, Yun Haoge's figure appeared behind Pow Pow. Not only that, there were more than 10 other figures of Yun Haoge in the other parts of the fighting ring. So fun, chirp chirp. Bubbles shrieked and disappeared. The next moment, more than a dozen figures appeared and pounced on Yun Haoge. In an instant, figures flashed on the fighting ring. One after another, figures appeared, but they were constantly defeated. In the end, they realized that they were all mirror images. Not a single one hit the real one. Many people with weaker cultivation were dazzled by the scene. It was impossible to see the real body in the mirror image. One could only see that the space on the fighting ring was rippling like water. Figures flashed and attacked. In an instant, dozens or even hundreds of figures were crossing each other. And as time passed, their speed was extremely fast. In the end, the two figures could no longer be seen. Lu Ming channeled the holy power into his eyes and finally caught sight of the two of them. So powerful. The two of them have reached an extremely profound realm in their use of the space-time laws. A true emperor spoke, sighing in admiration. Space-time laws were extremely profound to begin with. An ordinary person wouldn't even be able to touch a person who could control the space-time laws. This was the use of time and space, the collision of time and space. It had only been a minute, but the two had already exchanged countless moves. Let me break your space-time law. Yun Haoge was getting impatient. All of his silhouettes disappeared, leaving only one figure behind. Boom. His aura became even more violent. The world power surged and rushed out with the spacetime laws. With him as the center, the space kept collapsing and exploding. Even time had been thrown into disorder. A two-star illusionary emperor. This was Yun Haoji's current realm. He wanted to crush Bubbles with his powerful realm. Bang, bang. With him as the center, it was as if a level 12 gale had been set off and swept toward the Bubbles. Wherever it passed, space exploded, time was thrown into chaos, and the Bubbles' mirror images shattered one by one. Bubbles' true form appeared, bobbling in the spacetime turbulence. Lose? Yun Haoge said coldly. Taking a step forward, he appeared right before her with a sword in his hand. This was a combat sword formed from the power of spacetime. It was extremely sharp as it slashed towards Pow Pow. Bubbles waved her hand and a spacetime sword appeared in her hand, clashing with her opponent. Bang! The void trembled. In the end, Pow Pow's cultivation level was still slightly lacking. She was only a one-star void emperor. In terms of strength, she was no match for the other party and was sent flying. After Yun Haoge had sent Bubbles flying, he chased after her relentlessly and once again charged towards her. After a few consecutive moves, Bubbles was suppressed and was at a disadvantage. Yun Haoge used his stronger cultivation base to continuously shatter the surrounding space and disrupt the power of time, forcing the bubble to fight him head-on. Bubbles, you can do it. Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli and the rest cheered for Bubbles. Be my tame beast. Yun Haoji's eyes were cold as he stared at Bubbles. Chirping, Bubbles cried out, her eyes filled with rage. A white radiance emanated from her body, and in the next moment she transformed into her true form. It was a small and exquisite spirit mouse. Its fur was snow-white and sparkling, and it flickered with a little luster. It was exceptionally cute. Could it be a spacetime spirit mouse? One of the top 10 war beasts, the spacetime spirit rat. Someone exclaimed, and the scene was in an uproar again. It's a spacetime spirit mouse. Yun Haoji's eyes burned even more fervently, filled with a glint of greed. He could not wait to have all of them for himself. In the Yuan continent, there were some heaven's favorites who could awaken the bloodline of the top 10 battle beasts. The Yuan realm was vast and there were many such heaven's favorites. However, the heaven's favorites who have awakened the bloodline of the top 10 beasts are only humans. They have only awakened a trace of their bloodline. The difference between them and the top 10 beasts is too great. There were countless divine beasts in the world, but only 10 of them were in the top 10. Every one of the top 10 beasts was unique. In this world, it was impossible for two of the same top 10 beasts to appear. Every single one of them was unique. Only after one of the top 10 war beasts had fallen would a new one be born. In the ancient era, each of the top 10 battle beasts was a peak expert in the world. One could imagine the power and talent of the top 10 battle beast. But now it was a young spacetime spirit rat which was very rare. The spacetime spirit mouse is mine. Yun Haoge roared in his heart. The spacetime spirit mouse was born with the ability to control time and space. If he could get it, it would be a great help to him. Surrender. Yun Haoge continued to charge towards Pow Pow. Human pet, you're the one who surrendered. Paoba called out. Her body glowed and white rays of light spread out, causing the void to ripple like water once again. Bubbles' figure disappeared as he traveled through space-time without leaving a trace. At the same time, the space around him started to shrink, pressing down on Yun Haoge. Break! Yun Haoge shouted as his two-star illusionary divine cultivation base burst forth. Along with his space-time law, he was about to shatter the space in all directions. But the next moment his expression changed. He felt that his space-time laws were being suppressed. What was even more shocking was that his spacetime laws were being controlled. The spacetime laws that burst out from him instead pressed down on himself. Bang! Yun Haoji's body trembled violently as the endless power of spacetime pressed down on him, piercing through his world power. His body flew out and he spat out a mouthful of blood. What's going on? Many people were dumbfounded. Earlier on, Yun Haoge clearly had the upper hand. How did the situation turn around in the blink of an eye? Yun Haoge was injured by Bubble in one move. This reversal was too fast. Chapter 2120. Chapter 2120. Bubbles reveals her true form. Chapter 2120. Chapter 2120. Bubbles reveals her true form. Yun Haoge has been restrained. An immortal emperor explained. Restraint? Some people were puzzled while others were deep in thought. The spacetime spirit rat, one of the top 10 war beasts, was born with control over time and space. Although Yunhauge is the son of time and space, he was born with control over time and space as well. However, there's still a gap between him and the spacetime spirit rat. Therefore, he's being suppressed in terms of the spacetime law. The great emperor explained once again. Everyone came to a sudden realization. The spacetime spiritual mouse could only display its true strength after revealing its true form. It could fully utilize the spacetime law and even control Yunhauge's spacetime law. It could be said that Yunhauge was no longer Bubbles' match. Bubbles traveled through spacetime. Her body was small, but wherever she went, spacetime accompanied her. Space wrapped around her like water, and endless spacetime power charged toward Yunhauge. Yunhauge roared. He was unwilling to give up and wanted to turn the tables. Unfortunately, it was useless. At this moment, his control of the spacetime laws was no longer effective. It was extremely difficult to control. Without the spacetime law, he was no match for Bubbles. Once again, he was sent flying and coughed up blood. With your strength, you still want to take me as your beast pet? You're overestimating yourself. One said, you're more like my human pet. The bubble was extremely excited. It shuttled through the void and swiped its small claws at Yunhauge. Yunhauge bellowed in rage. His anger was soaring to the heavens as he unleashed all his strength. However, it was useless. He could not defy the heavens and was completely suppressed by Bubbles. In the end, his face was even scratched by Bubbles' claws, leaving behind a claw mark. You have my mark on your face. You're my human pet now. Chirping, aye, Bubbles yelled excitedly while Yunhauge was so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. Many people were speechless. They could tell that compared to the spacetime spiritual mouse, Bubbles was still in her infancy. She did not mean to humiliate Yunhauge, but it was her true intention. However, to Yunhauge, this was a blatant humiliation. He roared in anger and hatred, but in the end he still rushed down the fighting ring in humiliation and admitted defeat. He understood that if he continued to fight, he would only be humiliating himself. That guy, yes, that guy has a good relationship with the spacetime spirit rat. He'll take revenge on him later. Yunhauge's heart was filled with anger. He swept his gaze toward Lu Ming. He could not defeat Bubbles and could only get back at Lu Ming. Lu Ming noticed Yunhauge's gaze and was speechless. Why was this guy staring at him with a face full of resentment? Lu Ming pursed his lips and did not take it to heart. If this guy was insensible, he would not mind giving him a beating when they met. Bubbles had won this match. The bubble transformed into a human form again and hung around Lu Ming's neck. Brother Lu Ming, I'm awesome, right? Chirp chirp. Pow pow pouted. Amazing, amazing. Bubbles is the most amazing. Lu Ming said with a smile. Bubbles is the best. Come, let big sister hug you. Lu Xiangxiang walked over and looked at the bubble, her eyes shining. Lu Xiangxiang had seen Bubbles' original form. They were so cute that her eyes were practically twinkling with stars. Little guy, you're so rude. You have to call me auntie. Chirp chirp. Pow pow pouted and looked at Lu Xiangxiang with disdain. Lu Xiangxiang immediately left with a bitter face, causing Qiuyu, Feng Ling and the others to laugh. The surrounding people looked at Lu Ming with envy. Not only did Lu Ming have two sons of God as his disciples, but he also seemed to have a good relationship with the spacetime spirit mouse. Yunhauge's eyes were burning with jealousy. The third match, Yuan Xn versus the Ancient Devil. The white-haired old man announced. The scene fell silent and everyone's attention was pulled back. Two figures stepped into the arena. They were Yuan Xin and the Ancient Devil. Boom. They didn't say much and directly attacked, causing a terrifying collision. Yuan Xin, the son of chaos, punched the air with shocking power. Like mountains, he pressed down on the Ancient Devil. The Ancient Devil's body was covered in demonic light. He cultivated the primordial demonic Tao and had amazing offensive power. He fought fiercely with Yuan Xin. In the first 10 moves, the two were evenly matched. After 10 moves, Yuan Xin didn't hold back anymore, and her full strength erupted. A 2-star illusionary emperor. This was Yuan Xin's strength, and it had already reached the peak of a 2-star void emperor. 2 years ago, Yuan Xin had just broken through to the martial emperor realm. After 2 years of cultivation, she had already reached the peak of the 2-star illusionary emperor realm. This speed was already very shocking. Every breakthrough in the martial emperor realm was extremely difficult and required a large amount of time. Some martial sovereigns were stuck in a realm for hundreds of thousands of years and could not break through. In the end, they died under the lightning tribulation. It was also because she had entered that space that Yuan Xin had been able to break through so quickly. Yuan Xin's full power was extremely terrifying, and she completely suppressed the ancient devil. It wasn't that the ancient devil wasn't strong. He was very strong. He didn't have many opponents at the same level. Unfortunately, his cultivation was still a little weak. He was only a one-star Void Emperor, so it was difficult for him to fight against Yuan Xan. After a few moves, the elder devil coughed up blood and retreated. He was defeated by Yuan Xan. Unfortunately, the ancient devil's cultivation is still a little weak. If he could reach the 2-star Void Emperor realm, he might be able to compete with Yuan Xan. The power of the ancient demonic Tao is really amazing. Some people were discussing the ancient devil's potential. But the next moment, everyone was even more excited. There were 4 people left: Tianming, Wuyang, Baoda, and Zhuako. The 4 of them were all extremely terrifying geniuses. They had already broken through to the martial supreme realm 2 years ago. Next, the 4 of them were going to fight, and it would definitely be a true battle of the peak. "You're heartless, cheater," the white-haired elder announced, and everyone's hearts immediately rose. The unscrupulous monk was a heaven's favorite who had suddenly risen in the Buddhist League in recent years. He had revealed his unparalleled talent. He bragged to the outside world every day that he was the reincarnation of a Buddha god and that his predecessor was an unparalleled mighty person who was all-knowing. Although his character was sometimes criticized, his talent and combat power were real. He stood at the peak of the Yuan continent. As for Ao Ku, a true dragon who had cultivated the immemorial demonic Tao, his demonic body was unparalleled and he was equally powerful. Who would win? Everyone was filled with anticipation. 2 figures stepped into the fighting ring. "Almsgiver, you and I are fated. Why don't you be my guardian divine beast?" the heartless monk said with a serious expression. "Monk, are you insulting me? One will twist your head off." Creek's face revealed a ferocious expression. Check came from the land of the divine beast. In the land of the divine beasts, there were all kinds of powerful divine beasts such as true dragons, phoenixes, qilin, and so on. They could be seen in the land of the divine beast. He was the #1 genius in the land of the divine beast. Now, the unscrupulous monk had just opened his mouth and wanted to take him in as a guardian divine beast. How could he not be angry? "My hair is white. Benefactor, you want to wring my head off as soon as you open your mouth. Your killing intent is too strong. You must return to Buddha and refine your killing intent," the unscrupulous monk said with a straight face. Long Chen looked at Lu Ming with disdain. This monk was definitely up to no good. "Ill refine your head, kill, die." Ao Ku roared, and his dragon roar shook the sky. He immediately transformed into his true form, a purple-gold true dragon. Chapter 21-21, Buddhist Kingdom in the Palm? Chapter 21-21, Buddhist Kingdom in the Palm. The purple-gold true dragon could be said to be Rhe royal family among the true dragons and was extremely powerful. The dragon claw stepped in the air and clawed at Rhe unscrupulous monk. There were no fluctuations of laws, but no one doubted the power of this claw. It could definitely tear a 1-star Void Emperor apart easily. "I'm a rice-haired man, so stubborn. Be careful or I'll catch you and stew you with wine," the monk shouted. The crowd looked at each other. Lu Ming and Long Chen looked at him with disdain again. This was probably the unscrupulous monk's true thoughts. But the monk's body was covered in golden light. Behind him, a golden Buddha statue appeared. The monk stood on the head of the Buddha statue. The Buddha statue waved its hand, and a hand as big as a small mountain smashed toward Creek. Boom. A terrifying vibration was heard as the two exchanged a blow and were evenly matched. Demon God 9 strikes. Ao Ku let out a long roar and displayed the terrifying attack technique of the immemorial demonic Tao. His body glowed, and his 5 dragon claws attacked continuously. Each move was extremely terrifying as it could tear the void and shatter the earth. Fortunately, this battle platform was made by a great emperor and was indestructible. No matter how they fought, they couldn't destroy it. Buddhist Kingdom in the Palm. The unscrupulous monk, with a solemn expression, displayed Rhe great divine art of Buddhism. He stretched out his hand and a palm stretched out. It grew rapidly and pressed toward Ao Ku. There seemed to be a Buddhist kingdom in his palm with 3,000 golden arhats chanting sutras. The golden light was more dazzling than the sun. Boom. Boom. The cultivation of the unscrupulous monk and Ao Ku had both reached the 2-star Void Emperor realm. They were extremely powerful when they fought with all their might. The dragoness roar shook Rhe sky, and the sound of chanting sutras resounded throughout the mountain of destiny. The two of them continued to fight, exchanging dozens of moves. What a terrifying battle strength. With such battle strength, I'm afraid that even an ordinary 3-star Void Emperor would be torn apart in an instant. An illusionary emperor said with a solemn expression. He's only just broken through to the martial supreme realm and hasn't even comprehended any other laws, yet he's already so terrifying. The others also sighed. In the martial emperor realm, there were many factors that determine one's fighting strength. However, it was truly shocking to have such fighting strength after breaking through to the Void Emperor realm only a few years ago. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. They used all kinds of sacred arts as they began a peak battle. This was the fiercest battle since the competition for the top 10. The two of them were evenly matched, and it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. The battle lasted for more than 200 rounds. I'm the reincarnation of a Buddha god. Little bug, come and protect me. In the future you'll have good food and drinks. If you have my meat to eat, you'll have your soup to drink. The heartless monk shouted as he fought. Pinker was so angry that his nose was almost crooked. He was a purple gold true dragon, a royal among true dragons, yet he was called a little worm. Also, aren't the Buddhists vegetarians? Why the hell are you eating meat? Amit Ba. Some of the Buddhist cultivators who were watching the battle looked solemn as they chanted the name of Buddha. It seemed that he was a little embarrassed. However, although unscrupulous was not reliable, his battle prowess was indeed unbelievably strong, which made people feel terrified. From the start of RHE battle until now, his body had bloomed with thousands of rays of Buddhist light. It seemed as if he was getting more and more courageous as the battle progressed. It was as if the Buddha god had really turned around and his dharma was boundless. Many people were indignant. This guy was so unreliable, but his Buddhist divine arts were unbelievably strong. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. The battle continued and both of them were injured. The scales on Chek's body fell off and it was covered in blood. The unscrupulous monk was scratched by the dragon claw. A few hideous claw marks appeared, and one of his arms was almost torn off. It was a tragic battle. You're too ruthless. Be careful of retribution. The heartless man shouted, but he was more ruthless than anyone else. He used all kinds of Buddhist divine powers to hit Aoke's body, causing a large number of scales to fall. These scales are treasures and can't be wasted. There's also dragon blood. I'll take it back and make soup. During the battle, the monk did not forget to take the opportunity to collect the dragon scales and dragon blood. Creek was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. He attacked crazily. In his anger, he finally revealed a flaw, and the unscrupulous monk seized the opportunity to launch a series of ruthless attacks, causing him to spit out large mouthfuls of blood and retreat. In a battle between experts, one step behind would lead to another step behind. Once Pinker was at a disadvantage, it was difficult to reverse the situation. He began to be suppressed and finally was thrown out of the fighting ring. Muyang won this round. I'm a rice-haired man. You've let me win, you've let me win. About the protector that I mentioned before, please consider it. The unscrupulous monk's eyes were glued to Chek. He fantasized about how cool it would be if he had a purple gold true dragon as his mount. Get lost. Creek roared. You and one are really fated. He shouted again. Creek spat out another mouthful of blood, transformed into his human form, and ran to the side to heal. Little girl, you and one are fated to meet. The heartless monk stared at Bubbles and walked toward Lu Ming. Get lost. Lu Ming kicked the monk's face. Lu Ming, you're too cruel. I'm already injured and you still attacked me. 111 Go and recuperate first. The monk chuckled and retreated to the side to recuperate. Next match, Heavenly Fate, Brutal Virtue. The white-haired old man announced. Everyone's eyes lit up, including Lu Ming's. Tianming was going to fight against Baoda. Everyone was very curious about what kind of sacred art Tianming would use in this battle. Previously, Tianming had defeated his opponent without taking a single step. But now, facing Baoda, could he do it? Baoda was an immemorial body cultivator. His strength was extremely powerful, and he was definitely not weaker than Ao Ku and Wu Liang. It would not be easy to defeat Baoda. Boom. Baoda landed heavily on the fighting ring. His dark skin was flowing with black light, full of power. He was 3 meters tall like an iron tower. Tianming, come, let's fight, I want to see how you can control my fate with your fate laws. Baoda shouted. His voice was like thunder rumbling. Your fate has already been decided. You will be defeated. Tianming stepped down from the sky, his white clothes fluttering, like a banished immortal descending to the mortal world, and landed on the battle platform. Whether you're defeated or not isn't something that you can decide with just your words. Show me your strength. Bao De shouted. Then he took a step forward and rushed toward Tianming like a giant beast. You are destined to be struck by lightning, Tianming said with a gentle smile. As soon as he finished speaking, endless thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air and struck towards Bao De. Bao De didn't care and allowed the lightning to strike his body. He rushed past it and was completely fine. The lightning could not break through his defense at all. Is this all you've got? Are you trying to scratch my itch? Bao De grinned. He didn't stop and rushed toward Tianming. He punched out, shaking the void. A fist force was sent toward Tianming. It's destined that you won't be able to hit me, Tianming said indifferently. Then a shocking scene happened. The fist force crushed over and rushed through Tianming's body. Tianming's body was like an illusion. The fist force rushed through him, but he was fine. Chapter 21-22, Guessing the Ranking? Chapter 21-22, Guessing the Ranking. Everyone was shocked. The law of fate was too invincible. He said that he was destined not to be hit, but the other party really couldn't hit him. How could they fight? It's just that Bao De attack power isn't strong enough. If it was strong enough, it could directly break the law of fate. An expert explained to everyone. It's destined that you'll be burned. It's destined that you'll be cut by a blade. Tianming continued to speak very quickly. Then all kinds of attacks fell from the sky and bombarded Bao De. Boom. Boom. Bao De waved his fist and instantly destroyed these attacks. I've been burning my body with flames and refining my body with lightning since one was young. Your attack can only scratch my itch. Bao De battle intent grew stronger and stronger. He broke through the layers of attacks and rapidly approached the heavenly mandate realm. His muscles wriggled and his bones cracked as he punched out with all his might. The power of this punch was even more shocking and powerful than the previous one. At this time, Tianming's face finally became a little serious. He pointed out a finger and said, Destiny said absolute defense. A white wall of light appeared in front of him, and Bao De fist force hit the wall of light, causing a terrifying boom that shook the entire fighting ring. Haha, you finally made your move. It seems that your strength is also ordinary. Bao De laughed and waved his fist, causing the light wall in front of Tianming to shake. Bao De, you are destined to be injured. Tianming spoke again. A bright light bloomed from his body as he pointed with his finger. Brr. At this moment, Bao De roared. He seemed to have encountered an invisible and terrifying attack. His body trembled and he retreated a few steps, blood spilling from his mouth. Everyone was shocked. They didn't see anything attack Bao De at all. They only said that Bao De was going to be injured and Bao De was injured. This kind of method was too shocking and unimaginable. Your attack power is limited. If you have the ability, let's see if you can kill me directly. Bao De roared and once again rushed toward Tianming. His body swelled up, and his already burly body became even more shocking, like a giant. Boom. Bao De stomped heavily on the fighting ring, like a black lightning, like a demon mountain, and pressed toward Tianming. It's destined that you'll be injured. Tianming opened his mouth again and launched many mysterious attacks. Break, break, one force breaks all techniques. Bao De roared and kept punching out with both fists. The void was directly pierced through. The attacks of Tianming were also destroyed by Bao De one by one. He didn't have any techniques on him. Bao De's strength is so terrifying. His strength is slightly above Wu Liang's and Aoke's. He's a natural-born primordial body cultivator. If such a person were to cultivate in a nomological system, he'd be a piece of trash. However, if he were to cultivate a primordial body cultivator, he'd be a rare genius. Experts spoke one after another, shocked by Bao De's strength. Tianming's face was a little serious, but it was just a little serious. Great fate technique. He spoke softly, and the light on his body became even more dazzling. Boom. He waved his hand and a divine light slashed toward Bao De. Thump. Boom. Bao De kept swinging his fists and bombarding the divine light. However, the divine light was firm and indestructible. With every punch, Bao De's figure was pushed back a bit. After dozens of punches, Bao De had already retreated dozens of miles, out of the fighting stage. At this time, that divine light automatically dissipated. Damn it, I haven't fought enough. Let's fight again. Bao De roared like a mad beast. Then, his body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. You've lost. Tianming's face became calm again and he turned around to leave. Such powerful strength, it's hard to estimate. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and looked at Destiny, the child of destiny. Tianming gave people the feeling that he was unfathomable. Although Baoda had forced a part of Tianming's strength out, no one knew whether this was Tianming's final strength or whether he was still hiding his strength. Not only Lu Ming but the other paragons such as Yuan Xian, Aoku Yun Haoge, and the others also had grave expressions on their faces. Tianming's strength gave them a lot of pressure. One really want to fight you. I will prove to everyone who is the number one in the world. Yuan Xian murmured, her battle intent exuberant. What a freak. How can we fight him? Wu Liang's face was bitter. Alright, the first round of the competition is over. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Wu Liang, Yuan Xian and Tianming are the victors. They each have 1 point. Next we will proceed to the second round. Lu Ming versus Bubbles. The old man announced. Lu Ming and Bubbles were stunned. They met each other so quickly. Did the old man do it on purpose? I admit defeat. One don't want to fight with brother Lu Ming. One admit defeat. The bubble hung on Lu Ming's neck and refused to come down. The people watching the battle were calm and not too surprised. They had long known that it was impossible for Lu Ming and Bubbles to fight. One of them would definitely admit defeat. Alright, Lu Ming wins this round. Next round, Yun Haoge versus Yuan Xian. The white-haired old man announced once more. Yun Haoge versus Yuan Xian. This was also a battle of the peak and the battle was extremely intense. However, in the end, Yuan Xian used 2 types of nomological laws and fused them together, defeating Yun Haoge in one fell swoop. This shocked everyone and they had to re-evaluate Yuan Xin's combat strength. Yuan Xian had actually comprehended a second type of law, and it was a king path law at that. The fusion of the two had greatly increased his strength. This made people marvel at Yuan Xin's talent. He had only become a divine emperor not long ago, but he had already comprehended a second type of nomological law, and his level of mastery was not low. In the third match of the second round, Creek was up against the Galaxy. This was a battle without any suspense. The Galaxy was crushed and lost 2 rounds in a row. The fourth match, Ancient Devil versus Baoda. The two of them both cultivated the ancient cultivation system. Unfortunately, Ancient Devil's cultivation was slightly weaker. He was no match for Baoda and was easily defeated. The fifth match, Tianming versus the Unscrupulous Monk. The unscrupulous monk admitted defeat without even going up the stage. In his words, he knew that he couldn't win but he still fought. Was he stupid? The second round of the competition had ended. The only ones who still maintained their winning streak were Lu Ming, Tianming, and Yuan Xian. After 10 matches, the crowd had already begun to predict the rankings of the 10 people. Without a doubt, Tianming is the strongest. He will be the champion this time. It's hard to say. Yuan Xian isn't weak either. What he's showing now might not be his full strength. He might be able to fight against Tianming. Judging from the current situation, the top 2 should be Tianming and Yuan Xin. It's very likely that Baoda will be in third place, but it's not certain. All in all, the top 5 should be Tianming, Yuan Xin, Baoda, Wu Liang and Aoku. Everyone made their own judgments and conjectures, but most of them believed that it should not be a problem for Tianming, Yuan Xian, Baoda, Wu Liang and Aoku to get into the top 5. As for Lu Ming, he's not weak either. He has mastered 2 ultimate maxims. He's not weak. There's no problem for him to overpower the Galaxy and ancient demons. However, compared to Yun Haoge and Bubbles, he's probably not as strong. One estimate that Lu Ming's final ranking should be 7th. This speculation is reasonable. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.